Hello and welcome back to World Talks here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. In 2008, Georgia was invaded by Russia. The West's response was muted and Russia ended up permanently occupying the regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia. Although no longer in the headlines, things are far from normal in Georgia. For example, on Monday, the public defender of Georgia said that the Russian occupation forces had illegally detained more than 3,000 Georgian citizens for crossing the border in Abkhazia and South Ossetia since 2008. What triggered Russia's occupation of those regions, and where does Georgia go next? To answer these questions and others, I'm joined by Zygmunt Chowowski. He's founding editor of Open Democracy Russia.
Good evening.
Zygmunt, good evening to you and welcome to TVP World. Now, I'm dying to hear what you have to say, but before we do that, I just want to introduce a paraphrase, actually, something that Lech Kaczynski said soon after Georgia's invasion by Russia. And he was quite prophetic. He said, today Georgia, and then moving on, he said it'll be the Baltic states and Ukraine, and then eventually Poland. That's what he said. I'm sure you remember that happening. Do you think that Georgia was simply one of the first shots in the Russian salvo to recreate the Soviet Union?
Georgia is a very complicated case, and there were several reasons how the situation developed the way it developed. But at the same time, it was a very powerful lesson the outside world should have learned from those events. And I'm also very much impressed when I analyze things that happened 15 years ago. I'm very much impressed by this prophetic approach of late President Lech Kaczynski. Very few people at that time had the courage to speak out things the way he did. I have to admit that it was one of the most successful trips I had as a reporter in my career as a reporter. We went this was 3 persons team, 2 American journalists and myself. We traveled to Caucasus for an entirely different reason. The trip was funded by an important American foundation, Pulitzer Center for Crisis Reporting, but that took us as a surprise. We arrived in the end of July of 2008. We arrived in Georgia, and we immediately understood that the purpose of our visit, how we described it in the negotiations with the Pulitzer Center, we have to change everything because we arrived to the region which felt really serious tension, which was at the brink of war. The footage you are presenting on the screen was shot by our cameraman Jason Maloney. That was military exercises organized in the framework of Partnership for Peace program launched by NATO. These exercises took place around maybe a week or 10 days before the war, and Russia responded in a mirror fashion. They also had their military exercises, Caucasus 2008, exactly the same number of soldiers, the same number of armaments, etc., etc. So we understood right away that the situation is very difficult, and the war is very close. What was very interesting, we had an interview with President Mikhail Saakashvili maybe 20 hours before the war broke out, and when we stopped filming him and tried to talk to him off the records, I remember myself asking him if he didn't believe that the war is imminent, that the war is going to break out, and he said, "I'm doing my best not to allow this to happen. I'm myself planning a trip to Olympic Games in Beijing." But when we left his presidential palace, it was in the middle of the night. The streets of Tbilisi were absolutely quiet, and the town was asleep. But I really had the feeling that the war was to break out in just several hours.
Yes, you talk about that meeting in your article, actually, and I read it with great interest. Now, in that article, there seems to be some kind of a conflict in President Saakashvili's mind. He was expecting a war, but he didn't think it would happen. Is that a fair reading?
Well, these are contradictions confronted by a leader who wants the best for his own country. He knew that he would confront the very powerful army of Russian enemy, but at the same time, he's been president for 5 years. His presidential administration was very successful. They were given credit for fighting corruption, and Georgia was experiencing real economic boom. So, and he sort of believed that with the new Russian president, Dmitry Medvedev, with Putin heading for Beijing Olympic Games, the world attention would focus on Olympic Games. For every Georgian administration, the biggest challenge is to restore territorial integrity. Georgia lost Abkhazia and Georgia lost Southern Ossetia, and somehow, and Russia also continued series of provocations. So Saakashvili had a choice. He sort of believed that he had a chance. They risked it, and of course, the Russian response was exactly as could have been expected. They sent their army, and in 5 days they were about to take Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. Maybe he Saakashvili overestimated his chances for success. Asked for a reporter of TV Rain a few years later if he started the war in Georgia, he sort of exploded, says, "This stupid question, you don't understand how the situation was," and but he simply provoked shark or cannibal to do his job. That was his political mistake. I believe.
Well, as you say, a highly challenging situation, but one in which leaders often find themselves, Sigmund. So I want to just wind back a little bit. So you were there when the invasion started. What was it like? What did you see? What did you feel? What was the population's response? What was happening?
1 day later, after the whole situation started, I went to the city of Gori, the birthplace of Joseph Stalin, and the big monument was still in the central square. I could see the buses with the Georgian soldiers heading for the front in Southern Ossetia, but I already felt the panic among Georgian politicians, who created some kind of press center in the city of Gori. But they understood that it was completely useless because with the Russian troops heading, this is called Rotsky Tunnel, that they were sort of approaching Georgia, and the war was lost. They felt this already 1 day later. I could hear the Russian planes. We heard about the Russians attacking the port of Poti. Actually, already 2 days later, 3 days later, we understood, being in Tbilisi, we were still the only journalists, foreign journalists in Tbilisi. Maybe 3 days later, this international media circus began to arrive, but we already felt that the war was lost. We heard about the mission of President Sarkozy of France, who spoke with the President Medvedev and looking for some kind of compromise. But this was not the Ukrainian situation now, that President Zelensky and General Zaluzhny were able to defend the capital city. Saakashvili had no chance at that time. Russian, they had no chance.
Right. Well, yes. I mean, to an extent, we can understand that. Of course, I mean, looking at the numbers of soldiers and amount of equipment that Russia is pouring into Ukraine. And Ukraine is a much larger country by land area, but Georgia would have been at a major disadvantage. Now, what was it that triggered the Russian invasion at that time? Was it the joint NATO exercises, or was it something else?
No. This was like a pretext, of course. They were sort of getting ready. The 5 years of President Saakashvili in power in Tbilisi was angering Moscow to the extent that they just hardly could swallow it. As you remember, Saakashvili came to power as a result of Rose Revolution in 2003, followed by the Ukrainian Revolution in 2004 and Kyrgyzstan Revolution in 2005. Russia began to call it Color Revolution, and for Putin regime, it was something really difficult to swallow. They wanted to put a stop to it and to give a lesson to all post-Soviet world. Listen, you sort of you are independent countries, but there are some limits of your freedom and independence, and you're still in our zone of domination. Well, and Saakashvili didn't want to agree with this. He was pretty independent. He wanted to join NATO and the European Union, and for Russia, this was not to be accepted.
Completely out of the question, as he is shown in other countries as well. So now you have a frozen conflict, and of course Putin knows very well that countries with frozen conflicts will not be allowed to join NATO. Although there is one exception to that, we'll come back to that. You see a very similar thing in Moldova. So basically, this shouldn't surprise us, should it? I mean, this was what Putin has said almost from his first day in power, to recreate the Soviet Union, and this is his way of doing that.
Remember, it was kind of peculiar situation. It was 2008. He was no longer president. The president was Dmitry Medvedev, and he was sort of using kind of liberal language, saying that freedom is better than not freedom. And sort of, we kind of believe that maybe this Russian crocodile. I remember talking to Timur Yakubashvili at that time, Georgian Minister for Territorial Reintegration, who said, listen, we are confronted by crocodile with very sharp teeth. So I told him, when you're confronted with crocodile with very sharp teeth, you have to be very careful because it's very dangerous. But they understood that, in Georgia, they understood at that time that their only chance to save their independence is to gain support of the Western Military Alliance, of NATO and the European Union.
Right.
But they miscalculated because even with Medvedev and Putin in China and Russia, sort of already at that time was on the path of an attempt to restore their imperial influence,
right,
in the post-Soviet world.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Medvedev, yes, nominally, of course, he was president, but in reality, the power behind the throne was still Putin.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
that's
exactly.
generally accepted. But
I want you to pay attention to consequences of this war. Look what kind of government we have in Georgia at this time. This is pro-Russian government. The government of Georgia, Saakashvili lost the election 2 years later. That was the consequence of the war. And the new regime, which is controlled by oligarch Bidzina Ivanishvili and his party Georgian Dream, he's pro-Russian.
Nice. Good morning. Good morning. Haven't done a morning stream in a while. Holy shit. I missed this.
So Georgia has become a very important transit point for all kinds of smuggling goods to Russia. It is very careful with its political statement. Of course, they say Russia invaded Ukraine, but they are very careful. And there were several cases, several examples how Georgian government did not allow Russian opposition politicians to enter the country. So the mood, of course, they declared they still want to join the European Union, they still want to join NATO, but they are quite careful. And this is
right.
not that they don't continue politics of Mikhail Saakashvili, who was in jail in Georgia.
Right. Well, I think as you say, they're very pro-Russian. Maybe they're just paying lip service to joining NATO and the European Union. Hugely interesting conversation, Zygmunt. Thank you very much for taking the time.
How are you getting that conclusion?
The clock has beaten us, but
How did he get that? And lip service? How? What is this? Secretary of the Ukrainian Intelligence Commission. The West gave too few modern tanks. True. The West gave too few of everything. Give us more shit. Give us more shit, okay? We need more stuff. 50, 60 modern tanks, but Russia still has thousands of tanks in storage. Then we actually understand that we will be given enough tanks so that we don't die. I mean, good to point it out. Good to point it out. I'm happy that they are. What's the word? Talking about this. I'm happy it's entering mainstream conversation. I hope it's gonna force a lot of countries to do more. So, keep on mentioning this. Crazy ass 1 minute that perfectly describes the reality of my country, Mexico. What is that? What am I watching? Alleged images of confrontation between the military and members of the Northeast cartel. Holy shit. Military repelled an attack by the criminal group in the early hours of Friday the 3rd. What? 12 members of cartel were killed? Holy shit. Just got military fighting cartels. What the fuck? How much... Wait. Trying to phrase a question, but I don't know how to phrase a question. As an average person living that, how much do you have to come in contact with these situations? Is it like, are there areas you know to avoid so you don't have to come in contact with this? Or is it just all around, and like how safe are you overall is basically my question. How safe are you and like people around you, your place? Greek-Croatian football fan clash, yeah. Our fans weren't supposed to be there. We were not supposed to be there. Dinamo was not supposed to be there in the first place because Dinamo Zagreb has a huge far-right fan group which is not allowed to come to the matches that the game is that the club is playing. We were not allowed to be there. They came in as like private citizens, but they were actually going to a match. They were supposed to like immediately be fucking detained at the border. No Croatian should have been allowed to get in that day. But they got in and the clash started. As far as I know, one person died as a result of the clash. He wasn't killed by Croatians, but it doesn't matter because we were there and we did, cause the entirety of the chaos. So definitely fault of Croatians. Yeah, I missed morning politics too. Hey yo, hey yo, cheese flavored soda. How's life? It's pretty much ingrained into the society now. Shit. Oh shit. Well, that sucks. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're not losing too much, anything really at all as a result. Another upcoming match next week. I hope that if any Croatians try to come, I hope they get arrested. Just don't allow them in. They should not be in. Dinamo. I don't know how much. Do you guys know about the Dinamo Zagreb fans? They're called Bad Blue Boys. I made coffee, by the way, and I have beer in the fridge, so I'm kind of happy. You're finished by the time I wake up. I'm sorry. So, hey, yo, today we're doing well. No, Ukraine is not America's fault. That's bullshit. When it comes to Mexico, I don't know too much. I do follow European situation mostly, so I'm not really a person talking about that side of the world. If you want educated commentary on the remaining parts, you have a lot of streamers who just focus solely on USA and they're part of the continent, so you may, find someone you like watching better. I focus on Europe specifically, and no, when it comes to Europe, Ukraine is absolutely not America's fault. That's bullshit. Business is okay? What is it? Private tomorrow? Hey, nice. Hey, yo. No, it is not. That is an incredibly stupid opinion, Sniper. There's just bullshit. Sending aid to Ukraine directly enables Ukraine to defend itself against Russian invasion. That is a good thing. That it's something that people should be supporting. Ukrainians are dying because they want to be saved from Russians, my dude. Russians are gonna kill all of them. Have you not seen what Russians are leaving in places they've occupied? Have you not seen Bucha? Have you not seen Mariupol? Have you not seen what they did? No. They're going to be killing people. They are killing people. They have openly said they will be killing people. They're opening new prisons right now in occupied areas. Have you seen the news on that? They're going to be opening new prisons in occupied areas. No one was in danger. No Russians were in danger. That's bullshit. That is just bullshit. Like everything you're writing is bullshit. Fucking bullshit, my dude. Have you genuinely not seen the news about Russia opening up new prisons? Because we had news about this before. We just finished digging out the mass graves. By the time Ukraine manages to liberate all of the areas and figure out how many of their people have been butchered by Russia, Hague is going to get really, really busy. Okay? Fucking peace deal, there should be none. Peace deal, the only negotiations, I remember Zelensky talking about this, the only negotiations should be about how much Russia should be paying in reparations, and that is absolutely true. No one was bumping Donbass. Have you not seen the... Are you genuinely like that bad at following the situation? Truly? Bombing Donbass. Russia invaded in 2014. Russia sent paramilitary troops over in 2014. Girkin himself admitted to doing so. You follow the situation daily, then I assume you know that Girkin himself admitted that he and his troops have crossed over into eastern Ukraine in 2014 and started the conflict that way. Correct? Belgorod. I wish I was bombing Moscow. Again, are you aware Girkin himself admitted they crossed over the border in 2014? Slavic Slav made a single comment on DB's chat and within seconds he was sniped. What did he say? He sent me a DM. No, Girkin himself admitted that's a lie. Prigozhin himself admitted also that's a lie. Not even to mention that the main victims of this invasion are people in the east of Ukraine who are Russian-speaking people. Like Russian-speaking people from the east of Ukraine were the ones who first organized into volunteer units to try and fight off the Russian invasion. In the same way, Russian-speaking people in the east of Ukraine were the ones Russia butchered. When we uncover mass graves in the occupied areas in the eastern Ukraine, many of these people are people who were speaking Russian. Which recordings? Moderator has deleted the comment, is what he said, I guess. Fucking ridiculous. No, just bullshit. All of these comments so far are bullshit. But yeah, Croatia. Let's speak about something actually interesting. It's not way too fucking many, dude. Like far right didn't get a single seat in the parliament. They got no votes in their elections. There's just absolutely no metric by which you could claim that there's way too fucking many Nazis in Ukraine and the amount of them was justifying Russian invasion. There's just none. How have I been? I've been okay. I worked a lot the last 2 days. It's been really busy, so I was really tired. But luckily I have a free day today, so I'm good. And then I have no free days until next Wednesday. No, actually Tuesday. Tuesday, because we're having a holiday in Croatia. So I'm kind of happy for that. I'm kind of happy for that. But I've been really busy. It kind of sucks because there's a lot of stuff I wanted to do. Like I bought a new book and I still haven't gotten to reading it. I had plans to do more illustrations and I still haven't had time to do it, you know, stuff like that. I've been real busy. But you know, I'm attempting to kind of stay afloat of it. So it's getting easier to kind of adjust the schedule. Since there are 1 to 2% of Nazis in Ukraine, as is in Russia, and because of that Ukraine is a genocide by Russia, it's just such a stupid little way of thinking. Yeah, see, like that, you know what that is? You're doing the thing with being like, oh yeah, extremist acts are what I base my entire politics on. Which is, it's such a cheap, childish way to look at it, you know? Like you could talk to me about, you know, oh, these are the bad things Ukrainians have done, and then I could respond to you with like, hey, these are the bad things Russians have done, and we could just be trading these stories of people doing extremist shit forever. It doesn't change the fact that an invasion on a sovereign nation was not justified. There was no justification for what Russia did. An invasion like that must be condemned. Also, no one was suppressing Russian-speaking people. That's bullshit. Yeah, suppressing minorities like Russian-speaking people. Cute. Like they didn't have a gigantic home country just 100 kilometers away. They could go back to that too, but like also no one was fucking suppressing them as bullshit. There's something about this, but like I think it's... Yeah, like the second someone goes, oh yeah, USA is at fault of it for Ukraine, you know where they're coming from, right? It's the type of a person to see USA in everything. It's like USA must be taken apart in every single conflict, because if I don't put USA in everything, then I'm not able to understand the world, because everything must be revolving around USA and USA only. And then you know all of these like stupid ass, dumb ass comments. It makes sense. You're probably following just USA people, aren't you? You're just following Americans around. Like the only thing you're doing is going on fucking Twitter and following Americans, trying to speak their mind. So you already have a very USA-centered mindset, and then also you follow people who have a very USA-centered mindset. People were not being treated poorly. No one was treated poorly. Russians were doing okay. They had like normal rules as any normal citizens did. It's not true Russians were treated poorly. Not a promise not to expand the East isn't coming. I spoke to my relative recently about it, and he just like casually brought it into the conversation. Like, oh yeah, well, I don't think USA is guilty for this. I just, I think they should have talked more to Russia, since NATO did promise not to expand. And I was like, no, dude, no. The fuck are you talking about? No, you can't just... How prevalent is this opinion in your social circle that you're just putting it into conversation so casually? It's not even like he thought it was a conspiracy theory or something. No, he like actually just thought it was a well-known fact. It would be good if Russia would go even 10 years without invading some country. Yeah, that too. My man. Have you guys been following Georgians recently? Dude, it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. There's an entire video Russians have published when they started the invasion of Georgia over torturing one of their men to death. Just beating the fuck out of him. It is horrible. There's so many videos of that, people just like breaking down in tears over the situation. Just heartbreaking. And the fact that we knew about it and we just kind of went, yeah, okay, Russia is invading Georgia. Damn, I hope they finish faster so the gas supply can go back to normal. Is like laughable. Yeah, that too. Oh, nice. Just fucking chaos. But okay, Ayo, listen. On a topic that is, I guess, more intellectually interesting. Let's go into the bad blue boys, because you gotta know about the chaos that we have been doing in in Greece. Okay, so here's the problem. Bad blue boys from Croatia are a far right, absolutely far right football fans group collected around our club Dinamo. Now, bad blue boys are not allowed to be going to Dinamo matches. Did I say? They don't. They're not allowed to be on Dinamo matches because they are wild, okay? Like, as a group, I wanted to see if they have... I'm just allowing you to say your shit because, like, I'm allowing the VIPs to ban whoever they don't like. That's what I'm doing. But yeah, I think everything. I think let me say my shit was the correct way to explain everything you've been doing so far, because everything you've said so far has been shit. Every single argument you have given has been shit. It's truly like you're existing on just Twitter, and that's that. Just USA Twitter, even worse. So I agree with your assessment. I can agree with that. But yeah, Bad Blue Boys were not supposed to be in Greece. Bad Blue Boys were allowed to get in Greece. Because Bad Blue Boys were allowed to get into Greece, Bad Blue Boys did cause a conflict. Because of course they did. Because they're Bad Blue Boys. Now also Greece, apparently Greece isn't even better when it comes to this. So it was like... It was the worst types of people going around fighting each other, is what was basically happening. But one fan, very young fan, I've seen some people say 28. This one says 22-year-old, so I'm guessing 22 is the correct one. A 22-year-old has died as a result of these clashes. So, yeah, there's 84 Croats who have been arrested. So... we're still waiting to see what's going to happen about this. I do know that Greece did give quite harsh prison sentences previously for football fans who did, you know, similar stuff. So I'm guessing something like that is going to be happening here too. You can go full tops and just don't do banner bullshit. But if you need to be letting them know their mother's gonna get fucked in the ass, that's okay, you can do that. I also that too. Always try to follow proper sources first. Because like, you know, existing in your little USA bubble is fucking stupid. But yeah. Overall, good piece of news. Remember not to treat football fans as people, and I think that's it. I think that's the most important part of this conversation. Overall, like, at least we're in the news, my dude. At least we're in the news. We're usually never talked about. So I'm glad that it is pointing to a very problematic part of Croatian culture, but it is something that we needed to talk about more as a country, because for a very, very long time the topic has been ignored. And I feel like when it comes to European Union, we were actually talking about this a lot in like Croatian spaces recently. When it comes to European Union, we haven't really brought up the topic of our football fans at all. It seems that for a while they just didn't have any like huge scandals happening, and because of this we didn't have a drive to do anything about them, you know? They used to be having huge scandals for a while, and that was a proper point to implement some very strict laws on them, and we didn't do it then, and then there was like a kind of peaceful period, I want to say. So the fact that this is now being talked about so much, I do think is overall going to create some very much needed changes in the system. So I am positive on that. Oh shit, Deadly Storm. Balkan women's football? What? We have women's football? No Balkan team made it to 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Oh. What about... Not even Croatia? Given the poor state of Croatian women's football, this is not seen as a huge surprise. Women's football in Croatia is not professionalized, and most players have other careers in addition to coaching. Until a few years ago, women's football was degraded at all levels and was an object of ridicule and very neglected. Though luckily it's starting to change, and FIFA's efforts to get things going are noticeable. A lot of things have started to change in the last year. From January 1st to 2025, every men's football club that wants to play in Europe will have to finance a women's football club. What? What? Damn, nice. Okay, fair. Fair. I support that. I can support that. Look at our women. Hey, yo, yay. Nice. 2 years ago, we played in the playoffs of Champions League. Optimistic about Croatian women's football, noting that from this season of women's football will also be broadcast on national television. Oh, nice, that's too. Italy's women's team has qualified for the World Championship for the second time in a row. Holy shit, among the 25 Italian players in New Zealand, 6 were born after 2000. They're letting infants play this. Holy shit. Okay, don't they actually go to pension rather early? When do footballers even go to pension? I feel it's very, very early. Whoa! Zoomer teams. I wish we didn't qualify. Would have saved me from a lot of suffering. How? Why? What is wrong? Fair. How are you suffering because of this? Oh, the surprising results in 2019 World Cup, where the team finished 8th in the global rankings by defeating better equipped teams, helped reach this goal. Nice! Oi, Balak, who wins? Romania! 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 Is that Moldova? Bulgaria? Amateur level. Bulgaria scored 0 points in the qualifying group stage, where the team competed alongside Germany, Portugal, Serbia, Turkey and Israel. Serbia! Oh yeah, football clubs now need to have female clubs in order to play in the Champions League, so that's why they're making some efforts. Otherwise the situation is pretty bad. No. 34th place in FIFA rankings, but it failed to qualify for World Cup this year. Montenegro? Nice. Oh, I'm looking into Balkan football. We're having, did you know FIFA has new rules? Where does the Croatian one say it? Croatian one said it, well, from January 1st to 2025, according to FIFA rules, every men's football club that wants to play in Europe will have to finance a women's football club. Oh, you know how big that shit is, my dude? Is that not big for you guys in normal countries? I guess it's not big news for you in normal countries. For us here, look, it's big news that they are saying women's football club. Like the fact it exists is a strong thing for Balkan. Okay, we don't we're not too progressive when it comes to stuff like that. Okay, we're not we don't exist on the same plane of reality as you people do. Okay, this is like huge. This is fucking huge. The fact that we are having a football club that is actually operating, that by itself is surprising, because usually, you know, considering Croatia, you would expect it to be just kind of existing as a money laundering tool. But they actually are training and they actually go and play. Russian language should be up. I mean, yeah, there's the Russophobe position on this, which is like, yeah, it's okay if if they get silenced forever. They're going nuts over here, really? Ah, that's beautiful. I don't know. I can't imagine something like that here. I wish we had that sort of a situation, you know. I wish we had the ability to have something similar. We don't. It's a surprise, genuinely a surprise. He was like, look at where we train, and I was like, bro, you train? You have trainings? That by itself is impressive for Croatia. Igrice, Teamfight Tactics. I played Teamfight Tactics recently. I think that's the only game I actually like genuinely play. Oh, Deep Rock Galactic. Really into Deep Rock Galactic. Haven't played many other games recently. I really want to replay Mass Effect soon, because I got to the Legendary Edition. But, man, I'm having to work long hours, and then I do the stream, so I don't have time, and it just makes me feel kind of sad. Nearly sold out every match. Women's World Cup matches, beautiful. Fucking beautiful. Supporting women's football is huge. A lot of sexist people are also football fans. Yeah, like, you're reminding them that women are here. It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. I'm really happy about this. Mushroom right now in Moscow? No, what happened? I've gotten no news on Moscow. Where's my... What? Really? Really? I have become Justice, the destroyer of Moscow's. Really?
Это просто пиздец. Уебало нахуй весь завод, блядь. Я в ахуе. Бля, прикиньте, нас на сварке нахуй откинуло просто, блядь.
Dude.
Это просто пиздец.
Dude. Dude, that is great. Holy shit. Have you guys seen the posts yesterday on like a surprise coming to Moscow? Because I remember seeing a lot of posts before going to sleep about how a bunch of Ukrainian accounts were like, something is gonna happen in Moscow. And I waited for it for a while, and then nothing was happening. And then I went to sleep. I was like, yeah, there's always like a mismatch between when they post stuff and when something happens, because they are trying to keep operational silence. So you don't know how far along whatever's happening is. You don't even know if the accounts are proper. But like this now being published, nice. Mass Effect, yeah, I love Mass Effect. Mass Effect is my favorite game in the world. I adore Mass Effect. It got me into gaming. When you put them in the same uniform, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or man. If you're women or men, fans go nuts. Yeah, it's like, I feel it's good to connect the sense of national identity to women in this regard. I think that's really, really good. Like when it comes to fighting sexism, genuinely, that seems like a great thing. Remind men that like women can also be representing a country well. Fucking great. They are though. Oof. I wouldn't love to see the comments they get when they lose. The first person I banged in Mass Effect was actually Kaden. I banged Kaden Alenko. He was the first one. So I kind of liked him. I was like, Then I did go to Garrus. Then I went Tali. And then I went Liara, and then I went back to Garrus. Basically, Garrus is like my all-time favorite one. I don't really do definitions like that. What do you mean by a liberal? I think USA centered part of Twitch likes to be using these terms to mean nothing and to just kind of create little tribal fights, and I think that's bullshit. But if you're interested in some specific policies, you can ask like opinions on specific issues. Focus on Ukrainian, but let's not suppress Russian speakers. Or what makes you better than Russia itself? Yeah, that too. Liberal party in Croatia? No, not really. We kind of the whole thing. It was interesting when I started like getting into politics, like online, how much focus is on like these types of like I want to say like political tribes, and how it's not really a situation that you see here that much. Like I remember the first time I went, like if I had to place Croatian groups on a left to right spectrum, how would I do it? It was interesting because like in the first place the ideas are very chaotic. You know, the ways that people define what is left and what is right are different, and then the ways that different countries define them are also different. Culturally, it's a completely different thing, right? So then it's... And I feel a lot of it, you know, when you use this like type of, I don't know, I want to say like group terms when it comes to politics, a lot of it just seems like a way for people to place themselves into tribes and attack another tribe that they don't like. I think much of it doesn't really come from like honestly disagreeing with someone's opinions and like, you know, prescriptions and what they would do in politics. It just comes from liking your tribe better than you like the other one. So I usually encourage asking about specific policies, specific topics, rather than being like, oh yeah, you're part of this group or this other group. It's calibrating the guns. I'm kind of sad you can't bang Morden. I wanted to get him for a while, and you can't do that. I was never into Jack though. What's your guys' opinions on Jack? I was never into Jack. I never banged Jack. She's very annoying to me in 2. And then in 3, it's like I already, you know, banged someone else. Maybe I should start with like Ashley or someone and then switch on to Jack in 3 to see what happens. How knowing Russian and being deceiving led to very good results. It's our advantage. We can speak their language and they cannot speak ours. Yeah. I think it's like knowing Serbian here, you know? Like, you're not inherently traitor to Croatia, whatever the fuck, if you speak Serbian. Of course, I think there's laws to set up when it comes to, you know, recognizing what is the official language of the state, demanding the official language of the state to be spoken in institutions, stuff like that. But I think that when it comes to just using Russian and, I don't know, wanting to take it as an extra subject in school or whatever, I think that's okay. Like, again, like we do with Serbian, you know. If you have a job here, you speak Croatian. But Croatian has many different dialects. Some of them sound like similarly to Serbian, so yeah, it's all kind of the same. But yeah, you use Croatian in formal life as a rule, but you can just use Serbian casually and no one's really gonna care too much. You don't do politics offline? I kinda, how to say it? I am getting into it properly. I have done my education on European Union projects and how to work on them, and I'm waiting for my diploma for it still. But the easiest maybe, the easiest way to actually get a job where you can do your own European Union projects is by being a member of a political party. So I'm planning to join a local political party in order to be able to do my own European Union projects. Because as part of the education, I worked on some really, really good projects. We worked on some really, really good education projects, on some really, really good stuff on like how to teach kids in school how to recognize misinformation online, how to teach them how to do better research of stuff they see online. Then also like debate classes and everything, because we still don't have debate classes in most of the schools here. You only have them at like I think 3 high schools. So we had a whole like idea for a European Union project where we would do events in schools where you would like be organizing these little debates and getting kids to learn how to present their arguments well, stuff like that. So I'm very, very hyped about that. But you know, to be able to do something like this on a more individual basis, you have to be a part of a political party. So yeah. 99% of Russian only speakers are just stubborn and lazy to speak. Imagine, for example, living in Mexico for 30 years and not understanding basic Spanish. Or that too. Yeah. I feel like the thing is that if you live in a state, if you live in a country, you should know the official language from a country, you know? I feel it's normal to expect you to know the language. So I think in a way, I don't know, the whole thing, it's like in, where was it, in Kazakhstan? Recently, that Lavrov has complained about them demanding their own language to be talked, and they're not allowing anymore to be like, oh yeah, you can work in a public institution if you know Russian or our language. You have to like specifically know the official language of the state, and then if you know Russian, like you have this extra, but you don't need to know Russian. And Lavrov was pissed off about it. He was going around bitching, but I think it's a completely normal thing, you know? Like, why would they hire someone in a Croatian institution who doesn't know Croatian? it seems like the dumbest possible thing. Oh yeah, I know Serbian anyways. Who the fuck cares? And the languages are really similar. It's really easy to switch between Croatian and Serbian, right? But there's always like differences in technical terms. There's always differences in how you write formal sentences. This is where the difference is mostly seen. In casual speak, you know, you may not always even know which language someone is using, because we have so many mixed words in casual speak. But like in formal speak, it's definitely something that is noticed, and I absolutely don't feel that it would be normal to set a requirement that you may be allowed not to know Croatian if you work in a Croatian institution. I feel that would be ridiculous. So in the same way, you know, pushing Ukrainian, like you have to know Ukrainian, you have to be able to use Ukrainian to get a job in these institutions. For me, like, that's absolutely normal. That's absolutely a normal thing. To make Ukrainian the main language in school, I also think is absolutely normal. Allowing Russian schools is a different thing. Allowing Russian as another language to take classes in is a different thing. But like, it's completely normal to make it so that the main language of schools in Ukraine is, you know, Ukrainian. Atheist videos from 2012, dude. If you go to Eastern Estonia and speak Estonian, you might get local Vatniks very confused. So do it on purpose then. Whoa. In the morning, Russian media reported the drone attack on Moscow. Whoa. Military optics for Russian army. Whoa. Whoa. And also there's some like huge news on this, but I don't know what it is, and I'm trying not to get too hyped. So let's hope the situation is good, okay? Let's hope. Because I keep on seeing people say that there's like something huge happening, and then I keep on seeing other people be like, we can't really know how huge the situation is, if that makes sense. We can't know how big the situation is, because you know, there's markers that people are what's the word, tracking on maps and everything, and you know, a bunch of them do show new signs of artillery fire, but also the amount of it is how do I say this? Do I want to say controversial? I want to say controversial. Basically, we're trying to wait and see what happens. So be positive on this, but not too much. What is this? Oh, Andrew. Haven't seen it.
18 months, Ukraine has been in the grips of one of Europe's bloodiest wars in generations.
Oh.
President Zelensky has repeatedly called for the world's help. And now, in a rare interview, the country's First Lady, Elena Zelenska, has stepped forward. Taking us inside the heavily guarded presidential compound, she warns that the biggest threat to democratic world order is indifference to Ukraine's efforts to combat the Russian army. She blasts countries around the world for circumnavigating sanctions.
Що зараз агресор переможе, це буде найгірший сценарій для всього людства. Це буде означати, що жодні запобіжники світовій не діють. Це буде означати, що кожен, хто має владу, силу і достатньо фінансової спроможності, може в всьому світі чинити все, що він захоче.
In a wide-ranging interview with independent TV, Mrs. Zelenska opens up about her journey from comedy screenwriter to frontline ambassador and architect of Ukraine, rebuilding the nation.
She was a comedy screenwriter, by the way?
Моє особисте ставлення до позиції дружини президента таке, що ми не можемо більше виконувати тільки оздоблювальну функцію. Ми не можемо просто стояти красиво поруч з главою держави. Ми можемо набагато більше, і ми робимо набагато більше.
First question I wanted to ask you really was just how are you? How are you doing?
British.
Хотілося б сказати добре, але, мабуть, таке слово ніхто не може зараз сказати в Україні, тому що ми всі в напрузі, ми всі в очікуванні перемоги. І більш ніж 500 днів такої нервової напруги не даються вже знаки.
As you say, we are now 17 months into this war. What is your biggest concern for Ukraine in terms of the international community?
Є країни, які просто недооцінюють дійсно загрозу зі сторони Росії. Їм здається, що це далеко від них. Але насправді, коли в світі існує такий потужний терорист, почуватися повністю в безпеці не може ніхто. Ми намагаємося втримати весь цей демократичний баланс в світі, якщо тому санкції і припинення можливостей обходити цих санкцій. Насправді обурює те, що деякі країни продовжують через треті країни вести торгівлю з країною-агресоркою.
Yes, you are, babes.
Що це прийнятно, тому що це важливо для їхнього бізнесу. Я вважаю, що це просто критично неправильно.
When you first became First Lady, you pledged to put children at the sort of heart of your work. How has the needs for children changed since the invasion was launched?
Просто в дітей вкрадене дитинство. Лише третина шкіл України працює і може приймати дітей. Всі інші діти навчаються онлайн. В проблеми ментального здоров'я втрачають бажання до життя. Це найтрагічніше, що можна бачити, коли дитина відмовляється, не може посміхатися, вона не розмовляє, вона
The subtitles just popping up.
One of the biggest wounds of the war for Mrs. Zelenska is the forcible transfer of Ukrainian children to Russia. Ukraine says Russia has abducted at least 19,500 children. Of that, only 380 have been found.
Is there any hope to be able to get these children back? Do you have any hope that the International Criminal Court's arrest warrants against President Putin and his child ombudsman will have any impact whatsoever?
Означає, що світ бачить цей злочин, і світ його не приймає. Світ вважає президента країни-агресора злочинцем. Сподіватися, що це буде мати і практичне втілення. І наші омбудсмени намагаються налагодити міжнародну співпрацю по поверненню наших дітей. Дуже сподіваємося, що ці майданчики спрацюють. Я поки що не можу розповідати деталі, але я знаю, що інші країни будуть залучені до цього процесу.
Nice.
It's been a logistical nightmare. Ukraine says Russia has refused to cooperate. The Ukrainian authorities have no idea how many children are actually missing.
Цілими закладами, наприклад, інтернатними закладами, просто саджають цих дітей в автобуси і вивозять в невідомому напрямку. Тобто це, мабуть, один з найжахливіших і найогидніших злочинів цієї війни. Ми нещодавно зустрічалися з двома дівчинками, яких вдалося врятувати. І це один з щасливих випадків. Це складно собі уявити, як взагалі можна пройти цей шлях і не зламатися. Але, на щастя, зараз вони всі разом.
Of course, women have been at the front and center of this conflict. They're fighting on the front lines. They have traveled abroad to become the breadwinners for families. And my experience of being in the hardest hit areas, in the frontline areas, women have suffered some of the cruelest violence. What have you seen and documented in terms of this, and how has that influenced the focus of your work?
Такі найжахливіші злочини цієї війни – це сексуальні злочини. І не тільки проти жінок, на жаль, задокументовано Генеральною прокуратурою численні злочини проти чоловіків.
The First Lady says that Ukraine is investigating around 100 cases of sexual violence committed by Russian soldiers against Ukrainians.
Але ми розуміємо, що цих випадків сотні разів більше. І основна проблема в тому, що люди бояться говорити, бояться осуду, бояться пліток, бояться, що їхнє життя буде зруйноване. Хтось із них каже, що було б легше, якщо б мене вбили, тому що те, що зі мною сталося, вбиває мене кожного дня і не закінчується ніколи. Це руйнує родини, це накладає страшний відбиток на все життя людини, яка постраждала в цьому злочині.
Elena Zelenska did not seek a public political life. She has admitted to advising her husband against running for president and has opened up to struggling with public speaking. Then, in February 2022, President Putin ordered his troops to march on Kyiv, and everything changed.
When the invasion happened, you could have left, but you didn't. You could have taken a step back, but you didn't. Just how difficult it has been being in that intense spotlight internationally.
Всі страхи всіх людей, всі фобії, всі неприємні моменти, які ми переживали, наприклад, в мирному житті, вони зараз відходять на другий план. Тому те, що я казала, що я не дуже люблю публічних виступів, це не має зараз значення.
Last September, in the middle of the war,
That's a good
she launched a humanitarian aid
way
organization that's rebuilding and
to look at
rehabilitating
it.
swathes of Ukraine. This September, she's bringing first ladies and first gentlemen from around the world to Kyiv.
Я зрозуміла, що я можу
Damn.
об'єднати, скласти цей пазл. Тих, хто хоче допомогти, і тих, кому потрібна допомога. Мені здається, що просто говорити, просто виступати на міжнародних майданчиках недостатньо для першої леді.
Do you see yourself as a sort of trailblazer
I was
in
watching the
trying
First
to
Lady of
maybe
Ukraine.
rethink the
A new
role
interview was
of
just
a
published.
presidential partner?
Моє особисте ставлення до позиції дружини президента або чоловіка
I
президента.
haven't seen it personally, so for
таке,
me this
що
is
ми
like
не
very,
можемо
very
більше виконувати тільки здоблювальну функцію.
interesting.
Ми не можемо просто стояти красиво поруч з главою держави. Ми можемо набагато більше, і ми робимо набагато більше. І я побачила, який відгук це має в нашій ком'юніті.
Today,
І я бачу, що це
Okay.
надихає моїх колег. Цьогоріч він буде присвячений темі ментального здоров'я.
nice.
Це тема, яка а вже ж дуже болюча для України.
For me, covering war, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, has been, I think, one of the most enduring and common and overlooked injuries of war, and it's very hard to talk about.
Після навіть закінчення гарячої фази війни кілька мільйонів українців будуть потребувати психологічної допомоги, бо будуть мати
Shit,
психологічні
definitely.
та психіатричні проблеми. Тому зменшити це навантаження на суспільство ми маємо намагатися прямо зараз.
Yeah.
Це програма,
Hey,
яку ми назвали «Ти як?».
I'm trying really hard not to be pausing videos.
Вона саме направлена на те, щоб підвищити обізнаність людей про своє ментальне здоров'я, про те, щоб так подолати стигму. Люди не хочуть звертати увагу на свій
Nice.
психологічний стан, не вважають, що це важливо, допоки це не стане критичним.
Then there are the physical injuries. There are an estimated 20,000 new amputees in Ukraine. That number will only rise. Ukraine is now one of the most heavily mined countries in the world. The front line is 1,200 kilometers long.
One of the things you've been building that I've managed to visit is the Superhuman Centre in Lviv for prosthetics.
Такий масштабний проєкт,
О!
який буде масштабуватися. Вони мають в планах збудувати ще кілька центрів в великих містах України,
What?
щоб цю послугу розповсюдити на всю територію України. На жаль, не розповсюдженіші зараз травми, тому що це війна
Nice.
артилерійська.
I think Ukraine is quite unique in that sense that it's
Oh,
you
that
and
was
your
so
organisation,
nice. I haven't
work
seen
that
it.
people in Ukraine are doing is trying to rebuild and perhaps even improve infrastructure in the middle of active conflict. That's not really been done before.
Я впевнена, що ми не маємо гаяти часу, тому що країна має працювати, країна має жити. А для цього потрібна інфраструктура. І за це і стоять наші воїни на лінії фронту, за те, щоб країна
Reminds me of that. Have you seen that
продовжувала
woman
жити.
making prosthetics
The
of
UN
like
estimates it
tentacles
will
and stuff?
cost over $400 billion.
Oh shit, yeah, that's where the biolabs are true.
Mrs. Zelenska gives
Someone
is a
quickly
hospital
call
in the
Solovyev.
frontline city of Izium that she has been rebuilding.
Вона
Man, is you.
напівзруйнована, потім розграбована загарбниками, коли вони відходили від міста. Навколо місцевість замінована, але в місті є люди, і в місто продовжують повертатися люди. Регіон не може жити без лікарні, тому як можна її не відновлювати? Там, де є люди, там мають відбуватися відновлення одразу, як тільки це можливо.
You're, of course, the first lady in the middle of a war. It's one of the, I imagine, toughest jobs out there. You also have a family to think about. I know you spoke at the beginning of the war about how you were not able to see your husband and you live separately from him for security reasons.
Небагато чого змінилося, ми так само живемо окремо, можливо, частіше стали бачитися зараз це всі разом, але це також поодинокі випадки. Я про себе можу сказати, що я це витримую, тому що я розумію, що ніхто в цьому не винен в нашій родині.
Your daughter is 18, your son is 9?
19 and 10.
19 and 10 now, so
Yeah.
I mean, because we've already gone through a year of the war, haven't we? So
Це є. Якщо донька, вона вже більш-менш доросла, і вона може і самостійно прийти навіть до офісу президента, побачитися з батьком, коли це необхідно. А з сином складніше, тому що йому потрібен батько не просто 1-2 рази на тижні. Тому що я впевнена, що ми пройдемо це випробування. Ми всі любимо одне одного, довіряємо одне одному. Хочеться знову бути разом. Ми дуже сподіваємося, що якимось чином все ж таки все це зміниться, і ми зможемо жити більш-менш нормальним життям сімейним.
this invasion could drag on. Do you worry about the possibility for Ukrainians to keep enduring this? Do you worry for yourself that this will become too much at any point?
Але тут чи зможемо ми витримувати?
That's a weird question.
У нас немає іншого виходу, тому що наскільки ми це витримуємо, стільки ми живемо, так? Це
Hey,
справа
I added the
виживання.
news thing.
Але ми,
I had to
я
show you the
впевнена,
news.
що ми можемо з цим впоратися, нам просто потрібно більше підтримки. Тому що це занадто довго. Затягувати це не можна.
Let me see. Okay,
What would you
we're gonna
say
go
is
to
your
Belarus. We're
personal
gonna go to
message
Belarus.
then to the outside world?
По-перше, дуже просимо вас не втомлюватися, тому що ми не маємо права втомлюватися.
Wait, let me put the
А
mix
українці
it up
платять в цій війні
down.
життями своїх співвітчизників.
Nice.
І весь інший світ платить своїми ресурсами. І ми
True.
постійно чуємо від наших західних партнерів, що вони будуть з нами настільки довго, наскільки це буде потрібно. Я б хотіла сказати, що довго – це не те слово, яке ми маємо тут використовувати. Ми маємо використовувати слово швидше,
Oh,
тому що від цього залежить наше життя. Коли в світі існує такий потужний терорист, почуватися повністю в безпеці не може ніхто.
shit. Man, she's so incredibly strong. She and her husband both. I don't know. The way that they have both reacted to this, it's been impressive. Okay, I can only wish that we would ever be able to get similar leaders if we end up in the same situation, because they've been amazing, both of them. Just, oh, what an incredible strength. Hey, listen, I added a news thing, by the way, because I very often forget to show you the news. So I added a news thing. It has 5 redemptions for this stream because I've saved 5 news into my tabs, and then we will go through them. And then hopefully I don't forget to show you as many things as I usually forget to show you. Oh. For a lot of Russians, everyone's smarter than a cherry is a superhuman. Okay, yeah, that's too. Valid thing to say, to say. But hey, Belarus. Apparently, European Union has issued a statement ahead of the 3rd anniversary of, fraudulent presidential elections in Belarus, which I love that we are recognizing them as fraudulent and we're not doing much about it. I love it. This is like UN doing one of their little speeches. But yeah, they are saying that the situation today is worse than ever. Surprise. And calling on the authorities to engage in a genuine and inclusive dialogue with all elements of society, which is just such a bullshit thing to say. I was reading this article yesterday and I saved it for the stream just because I was angry. Can you imagine issuing a statement being like, hey, you dictator, keeping more than 1,000 of your people in jail just because they dared to oppose the government? I call on you to engage in a genuine dialogue and make some free and fair elections happen. Sure, you're gonna do that, Lukashenko. I can't wait for you to do this. Come on, let's go. How stupid are you to even expect this? I don't know. But it's one of those statements that I think whoever is behind this should immediately be removed. Unless you follow up this statement with immediate extra round of sanctions and some really, really strong fucking hitting ones, your recognition of the situation being worse than ever is meaningless. So I'm not too happy. But yeah. Today, they say 3 years later, the situation is worse than ever for those who dare to voice any criticism of the system. We are deeply concerned about the situation regarding human rights in Belarus. There are close to 1,500 political prisoners incarcerated in appalling conditions, exposed to the ill treatment and torture, without access to essential health services. European Union continues to keep the situation high on the global agenda in international fora. No, it doesn't. And to promote efforts aimed at accountability for perpetrators of human rights violations. It doesn't. They're genuinely doing nothing. They're genuinely doing nothing. Please, Mr. Lukashenko, please, just one free vaccine. And then Lukashenko is like, no. And the European Union is like, we are deeply concerned about the state of things in Belarus. In a few months, we will ask him again. Maybe he listens. Maybe he changes his mind. We shall exert pressure on him by asking him once more. Ejo Demi. Brate, prvi slobodan dan budi sretan za mene. I don't have a free day until next Tuesday, because that's a holiday. No free days until next fucking Tuesday. My dude, my man, my bro. I am sad, so I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm very, very happy. I bought beer to celebrate. Lukashenko regime has become a threat to regional and international security. What you gonna do about it, European Union? Nothing. Okay. Through actions such as the forced landing of a civilian airplane in May 2021, and the still ongoing instrumentalization of irregular migration on the European Union's eastern borders. What's European Union gonna do about either of these situations? You've guessed it, nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Fuck 'em. As of 24 February 2022, regime became an accomplice in Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. Oh, you don't say. What you gonna do about that? Nothing. European Union is worried about the recent deployment in Belarus of the Wagner mercenaries, the destabilizing effects in the region, and the risk they represent for Belarus sovereignty. What you gonna do about it? Nothing. The whole thing just pisses me off. It just pisses me off. They will not leave their cock chair to help Belarus. I don't even know if there's like a way to... How do you say it? Apart from like sanctioning the regime and cutting it off from Russia, there's not a lot that we can do. The best way to help Belarus right now would be to defeat Russia completely. Because by crumbling the regime in Russia, you are removing Lukashenko's outside support. The reason why he stayed the president after 2020 protests is because Putin came to his aid. So if you remove this connection between him and Putin, but then also now you have Wagner in the country, so that's going to be a fucking problem. But I feel like with them being designed a terrorist organization, it probably opens up a lot of new ways for us to act. But yeah, the best way to help Belarus right now is to fuck Russia in the ass and then directly. You're not just helping Belarus, you're also helping Georgia and you're absolutely helping Moldova. So they need to be defeated as soon as possible. European Union commends and supports the efforts of Belarusian democratic movement. By the way, Belarusian democratic movement, very similar, though less useless than Russian democratic movement. Okay, when we talk about Russian opposition and about how they're not doing much, very similar to Belarusian opposition. Tsikhanouskaya being outside of Belarus, very similar to Navalny team. Like, she's also asking for donations very, very regularly. She keeps on doing this whole thing with like, oh, we will rise against the regime in Belarus. Her supporters don't really do too much. Now, I do know that, by the virtue of being a smaller country under control of a larger regime, it is harder for Belarusians to fight against, because you have to fight not just Lukashenko, but also Putin. And Belarus against Putin, it's a hard fucking fight to go, okay? But like, Georgians are doing it rather well. Georgians are fighting Georgian Dream and fighting Russia at the same time, because Russia controls the Georgian Dream, and they're doing rather well about it. So what I'm trying to say is don't have too much trust in the will of Belarus to change. Okay, there's a question over how much the people have grown complicit with the regime recently. But I definitely think they should be sanctioned as a country regardless, because of all the dangers that they pose right now to European Union. We call on authorities to engage in genuine dialogue. Once Belarus embarks on a democratic transition, European Union is committed to help Belarus stabilize its economy and reform its institutions. Bro, they will not embark on a democratic transition anytime soon. That's just not going on. Putla always means communist in Europe. Not counting too many mercenaries coming from Asia. Even if Ukraine resists with NATO, the last region of Ukraine will drop its tactical nuclear bomb. Wait, even if Ukraine resists, do you think Russia's going to drop a bomb? I don't really think it's going to happen, to be honest. Why am I having... There's someone on the doors, by the way. Give me a second, I'm gonna play you XQZ. Be right back.
Почему? Хотите 10 лет посидеть в тюрьме?
Я просто не буду говорить так, как думаю.
Я не знаю этого человека, ничего не могу вам сказать.
Ну, он, в общем, сказал, что он не поддерживает там ситуацию, вот, которая там вот
Я
там.
говорю, я от политики совсем далек, поэтому ничем помочь не могу. Извините.
Ну, вам точно 10 лет тогда не грозит. Ну, потому что вы... Okay. So right now we are at Metro Dynamo, it's park, and mostly finance workers work here. One person, Yuri Hokhovets, you probably don't know him. He participated in a street interview, but not on our channel. It was another channel.
Okay.
And he said some things about Russian army and the things that going on right now. And now he's facing 10 years in prison. Yeah, so...
It happens. If you don't support Russia Federation and Russian army while you are located in Moscow or in other country, that's not good. Because when the country on a kind of a war or a special war operation, if you don't like or like, you shouldn't talk anything. You should support, because our guys are standing on the front line and they are attacking, they are defending our peace, of course. So I think it's very good.
Ну, я не знаю достоверности этой информации. Я, правда, Хохловца фамилию слышу, правда, первый раз. Это во-первых. Во-вторых, мы знаем прекрасно, что у них и президентов могут посадить. Ни за что.
В Америке?
Да.
А вот если говорить про Россию, вот человек просто участвовал, ну, высказал свое
такой
мнение.
Свободы слова, как в России, нет нигде.
Даже в Америке?
Такого количества блогеров, как в России, нет нигде.
Даже в Америке?
Даже в Америке.
А, вот. Ну, а иностранцы?
Прокурор, заряженный прокурор сажает президента США. Может посадить. Заряженный. Нынешней администрации США. Может посадить бывшего президента США. Бывших президентов не бывает.
А зачем они сажают?
Чтобы прикрыть свою коррупцию.
И ему сейчас 10 лет грозит тюрьмы. Как к этому относитесь?
Я бы не хотел вообще отвечать. Ну, комментировать сейчас.
А чего? Ну, комментировать-то это можно. Нет? Ну ладно.
Я как отношусь? Ну, в каждой стране есть свои динамики, честно говоря, конечно. И то, что случается на Украине, мы, как обычные граждане, относимся не как военные или политики. Поэтому у них есть свои, ну, скажем, правила, чтобы успокаивать ситуацию в стране. Иногда это очень жестко, конечно, и вы думаете, что это сумасшедшее. Но это не меняет ничего, поэтому, конечно, я не могу сказать, что я принимаю, да, такое
Got a
решение.
package in the post.
Нет, но вы,
A rather
я
big
думаю,
one,
что
too.
должны быть немного осторожны. Потому что у нас в Турции тоже есть какие-то правила, которые противоречат, да, свободе слов. Но я думаю, что это в каждой стране есть на самом деле. Потому что если в Германии, если бы вы поддерживали Россию, тогда вас бы не поставили в тюрьму, но
As it
хотя бы
should.
вас бы судили. Поэтому я думаю, что советую всем сохранить в сердце красоту и, конечно, поддержку к миру. Да, потому что мир единственная вещь, в которой мы нуждаемся.
Man's like, we also have rules in Turkey against freedom of speech. That's normal.
Надо понять, а все-таки
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well, I think that it's really... Well, I feel sad that in a
Marga.
country which I love, actually,
Make America and Russia great again.
and say what they
Ironically.
what they really
Ironically,
feel.
especially ironically for Russia, because it was never that great, was it?
Нет, точно нужно комментировать, что с ним сейчас.
Ну, это точно не запрещено, это можете сказать.
Ну, все понимают.
Ага.
Вот, да, поэтому мы не хотим попасть в тюрьму из-за этого.
А как относитесь к тому, что вот можно сесть в тюрьму за то, что вы там мнение свое выразите? Это дичь?
Ну,
надо разбираться конкретно в кейсе.
Ну, он сказал, что не поддерживает, что вот там российская армия совершила преступление, он так сказал.
Все это все понимают. Ну, как бы это, как сказать, и вы понимаете, и мы понимаем, и люди, которые смотрят, это все понимают. Но
Давай не будем
такой трэш происходит.
Почему не будем?
Ну, потому что мы боимся, мы девушки молодые.
Я политику страны не комментировать никак не могу, и повлиять никак не могу, и комментарии давать тоже никак не могу, к сожалению.
I've got no idea how he's not in
Свой
prison.
путь, это так всегда было.
А какой у нас путь? Можете вот как-то его характеризовать?
Национальная идея у нас, гордость и патриотизм.
Патриотизм — это что значит? Можете объяснить?
Любовь к родине.
Why did he react like that?
Нельзя. Иначе на 10 лет.
Ну, кому-то, может быть, можно, кому-то нельзя. Не знаю.
There is some running contest going on here. See right there. It's sponsored by Mir, and Mir is a Russian Visa or Russian MasterCard. It's for banking.
Yeah, it's very,
Just
it's
asking
very
questions.
interesting situation. But you know, we have something problems
You could say he
in
could
our
be
political
like
system in our country, and
an asset
some people can
by pointing
face
out
the
to
reason
opposition,
for,
actual
for
opposition in
something
Russian
normal
society.
things, and yeah, it's a problem, but I think we can't change this at the moment.
Ну, я поддерживаю Россию, российскую армию. Россия — это первая родина, поэтому я тоже как бы поддерживаю то, что приняли такое решение.
Just when you start being like,
Хоть на 20, это
a
считается...
surprising amount of normal opinions.
Ну, на 10 лет его хотят посадить.
You gotta have some brain that fools in it.
Пусть выражает у себя на кухне. Если ты хочешь выразить свое мнение, выражай его. И жди ответственности. Просто выражать мнение — это вседозволенность. Каждое мнение
Disappointed, but not really surprised.
иметь свои последствия. Хорошие или плохие, независимо от того, можно говорить, нельзя говорить. Каждый берет на себя ответственность. А тем более выкладывать в YouTube или там где-то для всеобщего обозрения, он влияет на массы. А если он хочет влиять на массы, пусть желает получить ответственность.
Я считаю, то, что нужно содержать нейтралитет. Опять же, многие люди слышали выражение Сергея Бодрова о том, то, что в любом случае нужно поддерживать свою страну, ибо если их
I think we should
возьмут,
remain
то
neutral.
что остается делать нам, правильно? Мы должны содержать как минимум
We should
нейтралитет в
remain
этом
neutral,
случае. Я скажу
and
то, что
everyone
просто
should
Стоилов
support their country
высказывался
when
об
war
этом.
is happening.
И приведу следующую цитату.
And also he should have stayed
Имея
silent,
смелость иметь
but we
свое
should stay
мнение,
neutral.
имея мудрость скрывать его.
Как будто бы это все еще не очень круто и правильно, но можно было бы ожидать, потому что все-таки существует, как будто бы это не первый такой прецедент, допустим, с тем же оскорблением чувств верующих, с странными картинками. Иногда это реально, типа, очень странные вещи, но иногда там за всякие не очень радикальные приколы.
Ну, туризм вообще несправедливо, а куда нам деваться? Как будто мы можем что-то здесь поменять.
Мы не можем?
Нет. Просто потому что вы просто винтик, как и все мы. Мы просто винтики. Мы должны заниматься своим собственным делом, дабы не угодить туда же и не постичь его же участь.
Какая у Сергея Бодрова цитата была?
В любом, даже когда война, нельзя говорить плохо о своих.
О своих, о своей стране, да? Вот,
да.
А как это наша своя страна, если мы повлиять не можем здесь? Это разве наша страна тогда?
Ну, потому что...
Oh.
Как объяснить-то?
Oh, he broke him?
Нет, она наша страна.
А
He
мы
broke
не
him?
можем, только чья тогда?
Мы можем лишь попытаться.
Гости, наверное, здесь тогда мы.
Не, мы здесь родились. Какие же мы гости, правильно?
А повлиять не можем. Значит, ну, такие вот. Что-то вроде гостей.
Ну, чтобы повлиять, нужно быть кем-то.
Кем?
Ну, скажите, вот вы не можете повлиять, да? А вот какой-нибудь нефтяной магнат может.
Ага. Ну, вы хотите нефтяным магнатом-то стать?
Я? Зачем? Я артист. Зачем мне быть нефтяным магнатом?
Isn't it interesting that in Russia people are allowed to do military coup?
There is a question though. But I feel like it's self-answering. But there's this I remember when we were in art school, and a lot of our conversation were on like the history of art and how artistic movements used to be, you know, a way, yeah, like of influencing the people. Like you used to be using art to kind of speak out your mind, and sometimes if you weren't allowed to speak out your mind, you would be using art to do it in very subtle ways, but still, it just like the message remains, right? You don't actually say it, but the message remains, and the message is convened. It reminds me right now that I recently saw this one painting of, it was painted by an Estonian painter, maybe some of you know which one I mean, of that Estonian woman, and she's holding a book of laws, and there's a Russian eagle. What's the bird? It is the eagle. Who the fuck knows? The bird. And he's trying to like rip it from her hands. And like the image itself was a very strong social commentary on the situation and on how Russia was trying to like exert control over Estonia. And you know, stuff like that. It's like you're not actually allowed to openly state what's happening, but you put it in art. And then you use it as commentary, and you yourself become an influence in a way. And I don't know, it feels like the dude we just watched is kind of shitting on the whole idea of it. I feel like when he says an artist, I feel he wants to be like shaman or someone. It's shitting on the whole idea of art having any sort of like a meaningful message in a way or whatever. I don't know, it's so cheap. He is like unironically getting me really, really angry with that. Imagine calling yourself an artist and then being that. What the fuck is it? It doesn't have to be political, but like you're inherently a political person, right? By being a part of a society. Inherently you are engaged in politics. Inherently your actions are having some sort of a reaction. Depends on the levels, of course, but just by existing you have an influence in a way. I don't know. I always feel like it's a waste of a profession in situations like these. Like, it's so bland, it's so fucking boring. He could just be going on and I don't know, going out digging some potatoes, and he would have the same artistic value as he does right now. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, like 1 month ago when army
By the way, I
was
brought
going
beer and
to
I don't
Moscow.
have the opener. Oh, I do.
I think there's just
What? Yeah, people allowed to do this, and they will be free to go, right? But they are not allowed to express opinion.
Mostly people support the army, the regular
Politics,
army
you
of
think?
the Russian Federation. And this situation,
I think it's interesting.
mostly people support it. And this Wagner
Based.
party, when they go to the Moscow, I think it was a kind of a special thing, just to relocate the Wagner company to another part of the Russian Federation or the Belarus.
Maybe also just point out the fact that they care so much about other Russians that they are willing to fall for the conspiracy of the Wagner coup being planned just to relocate Wagner, even though they could have gone to Belarus. If they wanted to go to Belarus, they could have just went into Belarus. Lukashenko would allow it. He allowed other stuff. He would allow this too. They could have just went to Belarus. Also, there is no strategic importance to them being in Belarus. But they never mentioned the fact that actual Russians were killed as a part of this. It's like they don't give a shit about their pilots. It's like we remember it more than they do. It's almost disturbing from this fucking position. It's like how you're willing to fall for this conspiracy, which basically you're saying that people killed were just what? Used as pawns? They were just what? Were they not up to the situation? Were they not informed on what was going on and that it wasn't actually a coup? What are we talking about? It's such a weird little conspiracy, and it's so weird that they fall for it. I mean, maybe not,
Do something
considering their previous actions.
So I
Just
think it was just a strategic maneuver.
We interview people,
Hey,
Russian people,
yo!
and foreigners watch our videos, and when they hear
I very
opinion
rarely
like yours,
can do streams
they
at this
usually
time.
write something like, "Why are you not on the front line yet?" Still.
If I got an invitation, I'll go to support it. Like my grandfather goes to the Second World War, my father even go there. If I need to help my country, I'll go there and I'll work. But I'm
And then he just cut. Why would you cut it off? Why would you cut it off? But hey, we didn't finish on Belarus. I had to run downstairs, so we didn't finish on Belarus. I saved other stuff on Belarus too. I've saved the new round of sanctions, which was adopted on August 3rd, by the way, by European Union, and which was... My opinions on sanctions have been interesting. I don't know what's the point of doing them if you don't do them really, really harshly. I don't understand what's the point of doing like weak ass ones. You're just wasting time. You're not really going to create many changes. Why don't you just like cut them off fully and that's it? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, new round of sanctions has been adopted on 38 individuals and 3 entities in Belarus, and extended exports bans to firearms, aviation, and the space industry, which should have been done from the start of this whole invasion. But okay, GG, we're doing it now, so it's something. These individuals and entities are responsible for serious human rights violations. They contribute to the repression of civil society and democratic forces, as well as those who benefit from and support Lukashenko regime. So the new listings include penitentiary, holy shit, what's happening with English? Officials responsible for the torture and ill treatment of detainees, including political prisoners, propagandists, and members of judicial branch involved in prosecuting and sentencing democratic opponents. So yeah, exports banned to goods and technology suited for use in aviation and the space industry, including aircraft engines and drones. Prohibition of sale, supply, transfer, or export of firearms, parts of firearms, and essential components and ammunition. Further export restrictions on goods used by Russia for its war of aggression against Ukraine, including semiconductor devices, electronic integrated circuits, manufacturing and testing equipment, photographic cameras, and optical components. And then extended export ban on dual-use goods and technology. So, seems okay. Wish it was still stronger, but it seems okay. Has something against me for saying her friend was wrong and something to do with her PC. I can start talking in chat and she'll go quiet. How do you always enter into drama like that? Why always drama happening? How in the world? Also save this link, because you need to see this link. As of August 9th, 1,400. I just saw that message. What do you mean I would love to have that kind of power? Would you like me to go quiet when you start chatting? What was that referring to? 1,494 persons in Belarus are considered as political prisoners. Bloggers, businessmen, presidential campaign members, and peaceful protesters are held in prisons only because they were not afraid to exercise their rights to participate in peaceful assemblies, to express their opinion, and to be involved in political activities. Most of these people were targeted by politically motivated criminal prosecution in connection with the events that took place during and after the presidential election of August 2020. You have a list of all of these people. And also there was list of former political prisoners. Yao, date of detention. And also there was a way for European politicians to support the detainees for a while, but it didn't really. It's hard to keep people active in this type of situation if you don't really see a change happening. I think that was a big problem when it comes to all of these sort of like movements. Because, you know, every once in a while the European Union is like, hey, we are concerned about the situation in Belarus, and then a few European Union politicians are like, oh, let's go help these prisoners by, you know, being their godfather, so their name is mentioned in media. But if you don't actually see any sort of a change, like you don't see these prisoners, for example, being freed, after a while you just stop posting about them. And that's what has happened every time. They just stopped posting about them. If this had a way to like have, I want to say like stronger ways of acting from the mentioned European Union politicians, like if there was actually a drive to be like, hey, okay, this is the prisoners that I am supporting, and if they are not freed in a set number of days, we will, be trying to pay them lawyers to get a new trial, to get a proper trial happening. We will be punishing the regime even more. We will be implementing new sanctions, something. If there was a way to do something, if you don't reach your goal, I feel it would be much more useful. But in this way, it's like it's letting off steam. It's like those useless little street protests happening in countries where the opposition pretends to be opposition, but it's actually not. It's just cosplaying as opposition. And it's like this here, It's like you don't actually care about these prisoners. If you cared, you would be posting about them every single day. You would be talking about them every single fucking day. You would be demanding more and more and more sanctions. And they're not. They're just kind of forgetting about it. Sen... Proper definition? I don't know what the exact definition would be, to be honest. I remember looking into it when Girkin was imprisoned. A person who has been imprisoned, detained, or otherwise isolated for involvement in political activity. I remember there was a part, was it here? Oh yeah, there is no internationally recognized legal definition of the concept. That's what I'm thinking of. Because I remember when Girkin was imprisoned, Navalny made a comment that Girkin is a political prisoner. And I remember being like, is he? And I looked it up and I couldn't find exactly what makes one a political prisoner. It's like different countries define it differently. So it's hard to figure out what the actual thing is. Like it's a person imprisoned for no other reason than his political views or political activism. A very vague thing overall. Especially when it comes to Girkin, I don't know how I would be defining him based on that, was he imprisoned for political activism? Was he politically active in that sort of a way? Did he want to be politically active? He did have Angry Patriots Club. Was Angry Patriots Club supposed to be politically engaged? Was it politically engaged? Was it useful in trying to be politically engaged? I feel you could still imprison him for just creating it if you filed as an extremist organization. So maybe would that be imprisoning someone for political activism? But then what if someone makes just an extremist party in a land? What if you make a neo-Nazi group or something and you get jailed? You're not a political prisoner then. Are you a political prisoner then? You're not a political prisoner then. How the fuck? How do you define these? No country admits their prisoners are in there for political reasons. Yeah, but I think it's just a very, very vague thing. Very, very vague. Old angry assholes. A very vague thing to, kind of figure out in a way, isn't it? Weeks before the arrest, it was. Damn. I hope they continue to be politically active just so we could see more chaos in Moscovia. Some of those Russians seem to be happy to admit he deserved it. He spoke publicly. Yeah, it's that one in the XQZ interview who goes, how was it? He, you should be smart enough to have an opinion, but wise enough to hide it. Also, something like that said by an artist, by the way, that personally offends me. Personally fucking offends me. I don't know what sort of a shit artist you could be to be genuinely holding that sort of an opinion, but yeah. But by the way, talking about Belarus, still, okay? Italy has stopped issuing golden visas to Russian and Belarusian nationals. Big piece of news. Big, humongous piece of news, okay? Golden visas used to also be called investor visas. So they were giving you residence permits in Italy in exchange for investments in the country. Russians and Belarusians no more can get these. No more can get these. Fucking great, okay? You can no longer pay to Italy to get a golden passport to Italy. This has been something that has been demanded by European Union in a way for a while. So right now the fact that they finally stopped issuing them is good. They should have done it months ago when the first time conversation was brought up, but I'm just happy that I kind of decided to do it regardless. I'm happy that we are in this. I don't know if I want to say together, but yeah. Is NATO a good thing for most countries? Yeah. I mean, if you look at Croatia, for example, we're doing fucking great. NATO has enabled us to be absolutely certain that we will not be attacked by other Balkans anytime soon. So we're definitely doing great. NATO is, I mean, it's a defense alliance. Of course, it's a good thing for most countries, right? So I feel yeah. I'm rather positive about NATO itself. There's a trending topic in Ukraine. 3 comedians recently had a podcast in which one of them said the girl can't be 10 out of 10 if she's not shaved. And we're having girls rioting in media to the point it's safer to become gay, probably. I mean, it is a very... how to say it? It is a very dumb as fucking opinion to say. In a way. But also like the whole thing with 10 out of 10. It's gonna cringe. But yeah, no. Look, I'm I'm trying to find a way to say this. But like, I think I've reached a point at which I hear comedians have an opinion and my first reaction is they haven't really shown themselves to be wise. Reminds me of that. Have you guys seen that Russian comedian making fun of Izium? Making a whole joke about like how he couldn't take the news about mass graves in Izium being uncovered. He couldn't take the news seriously because Izium sounds like raisin in Russian, so he was laughing at the name of the city all the time. Have you seen that USA comedian who, she's a shit comedian, but in one of her shows, no one was laughing at anything she said because she's a shit comedian. So she was going to like pick on people in the audience, and she found a Ukrainian in the audience, and she started telling them how Ukraine is a corrupt country and Zelensky is corrupt and shit like that. And she posted the clip on Twitter being like, ha ha ha. At my comedy show, like, I absolutely owned this woman. And no one was laughing at those jokes either. It's just that the comedian thought she was funny because she was being, edgy as fuck over it. It's just, I don't know. I think I discriminate against them in a way. Especially if it's like stand-up or whatever. I don't know. Comedians, podcast bros. I hear someone's a part of the group, I immediately go, oof. No. Australia, very far from these things. Australia is helping Ukraine a lot right now. So thank you, Australia. Yeah, my best friend. But yeah, NATO is basically it's a good promise of peace in a way because no one will dare to attack you. No country will dare to go anywhere your territory, So from that position, it's absolutely great for countries which are a part of it, right? No one's gonna come to your country and invade you and kill your people. And it's also why a lot of countries in Eastern Europe specifically, and then especially neighbors of Russia, have seen it as a necessary thing to enter NATO. It's because it offers you a promise of peace. NATO is the only promise you are going to get, that Russia is not going to come to your lands. So, about that, it was very, very, very needed, and it's a very, very good influence on this part of the world. I haven't actually gone to Ukraine, no. I did speak to Ukrainians. We do have quite a lot of Ukrainian refugees in Croatia. But no, I have never been there. I do kind of want to go to the Cream Beach party. I'm genuine on this. I do want to go visit the country after all of this is over, of course, because right now I would just be a burden for everyone. But yeah, never been there before. Australia and China? If China would go full berserk, that would probably affect Australia. I don't think China is stupid enough to go full berserk, but also that depends on whether or not the West has a proper response to Russia. Because, you know, if we stay pussies on what Russia is doing, I feel we're going to be encouraging a lot of, do I want to say, aggression from other countries. If we stay pussies, and especially in like the horror scenario of allowing Russia to win in any sort of a way. So not just like what most people would consider a victory, in any sort of a way. If you give them the ability to go back to their shithole and then to be like, hey guys, we got demilitarized zone in Ukraine around the border, we won. This is what we wanted, we won. If you allow them any sort of a delusion of victory, you're fucking up the situation in the future, because other countries wanting to be aggressive towards their neighbors will learn from this, and they will learn that Western support for their victims is going to go slowly down, and then they will be allowed a victory. So we should defeat Russia with no delusion of victory available after it is defeated, and only in that way can we reach some sort of peace in the region for now. Very easternist. Finland, oh yeah, shit, that too. Definitely a different opinion. Yeah, China's gonna be GG. Hey, also my last link on Belarus. I need to show you all of my links, okay? I'm trying really hard not to miss news. Is that NATO sees no threat to allies from Wagner Group in Belarus. NATO said it has been closely monitoring all military operations in Belarus, and it sees no direct or indirect threat to its member states posed by Russia's Wagner Group. So yeah, I guess it's something that we knew before. I thought it was interesting to mention because there was a report published like yesterday, I think, 8th. Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday they were like, hey, we actually don't think Wagner rates are that concerning. Sell a victory. Like, make them think they won? I'm not sure that would be a smart thing. Because the way I see it is, if you make them think they won... Where was the one on Wagner? I wanted to watch the one on Wagner. Did we watch the one on Wagner, by the way? Because the thing is that if you sell a victory to Russian people, they remain having a nationalist mindset. If you sell a victory to Russian people, in 10 years they're going on Kazakhstan. I think, what's his name? What's his fucking ass name, the chess player? He had a very, very good speech on this. Kasparov had a really, really good speech on this, in which he pointed out that if you want to have any sort of like peace with Russia in the future years, you must crumble the Russian delusion of a great Russian empire ever being able to be formed. You must destroy the fuck out of it. As long as they are able to keep the delusion going, they will want to invade neighboring countries. As long as the population of Russia wants to rebuild the empire, the leadership of Russia will be directly benefiting from attempting to rebuild the empire. So you gotta crumble the entire delusion right from the start. Just destroy it. Now, I'm not sure West is up for it, to be completely honest. I'm not sure we're trying hard enough. So I'm not really too happy about that. If we did send more weapons faster, I do think we would have the ability to do that. But like, I don't know. I'm not too positive on what we're doing. Has yet to receive a verdict after more than 2.5 years in detention. One example of tensions between China and Australia. Holy shit, he's just kept in detention and that's it? Wait for war. But holy shit. Yeah, by the way, let me see if we watch this. You can see Russia losing completely. Yeah, unfortunately I'm in the same boat. Because I'm really hopeless about the West. But I do think that, Ukraine has been fighting really strongly lately. With the hits on Moscow and everything, I think there's a possibility. I think there's a chance. Hits in Moscow, hits on the Northern Sea Fleet. Directly influencing Russian operations in Syria too. I think there's a chance. I think there might be an option to kick them out completely. But I don't know if I'm just being too fucking hopeful, because the West really is very, very disappointing on this whole thing. Oh shit.
This video was brought to you by Brilliant. In mid-July, Wagner troops finally relocated to Belarus.
This one, did we watch this one?
Agreed with the Kremlin in the aftermath of their attempted coup. Now, perhaps unsurprisingly, this sparked some anxiety on NATO's eastern flank, especially in Poland, which has been steadily increasing its troop presence on the Belarusian border in reaction to what some see as the growing threat of Wagner-led hybrid warfare on NATO territory. So in this video, we're going to take a look at why tensions between Poland and Belarus are at an all-time high, and whether Wagner might actually attack NATO. So, this story really starts with Wagner's attempted coup in late June. As you might remember, the coup attempt ended abruptly after Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko apparently negotiated a last-minute deal between Putin and Prigozhin. Under the terms of the deal, as described by the Kremlin, Wagner would give up its heavy weaponry and redeploy its remaining fighters in Russia to Belarus. This immediately sparked some anxiety in Poland and the Baltics, especially Lithuania and
Like
Latvia,
they're still advancing,
which
right? So
both
I think
share a
there's a
border
chance.
with Belarus, and who all stepped up their troop deployments along the border as a result of these concerns. Now, originally, Poland's main anxiety seemed to be the fact that Wagner would help traffic migrants into Poland. For context, in late 2021, Belarus and Russia started flying over hundreds of migrants from the Middle East and then pushing them into Poland as an apparent attempt to manufacture a migrant crisis in the EU. Now, Poland
Which
responded
worked
to this
kinda,
by
by the way.
literally building a wall on their border with Belarus. And they're still worried that Wagner, perhaps disguised as Belarusian border guards, would be used to restart migrant flows into Poland by finding a way around the wall. Now, for a while after the coup, it seemed that Wagner were actually just going to stick it out in Russia, and that Poland and the Baltics had nothing to worry about. Flight data suggested that even Prigozhin was still in Russia, and when a Russian journalist called Wagner pretending that he wanted to sign up, the Wagner recruiter still said that they were operating out of Russia. However, on July 14th, the Belarusian Defense Ministry announced that Wagner troops had started training in Belarus, and that they were training Belarusian conscripts in its territorial defense force in a town some 65 kilometers southeast of Minsk, where a large military base capable of housing an estimated 5,000 troops has been created by Wagner. Now, this is interesting because it used to be the responsibility of the Russian army to train Belarusian conscripts, which suggests that Wagner has to some extent ousted the Russian army in Belarus. A few days later, Prigozhin released his first video in a while, where he said that Wagner would make the Belarusian army the second best in the world, before gathering our strength and heading off for Africa. In response, Poland again increased their troop presence on the Belarusian border. This didn't go down too well with Putin, though, who claimed in a televised Security Council meeting on July 21st that Poland's new development was a provocation, and warned that aggression from Belarus will mean aggression against the Russian Federation. In the same address, Putin claimed that Poland was a gift from Stalin, and accused Poland of harboring aspirations to annex Ukraine.
Sounds like communism.
This might sound absurd given
I
the
have
strength
to
of
get 1
Polish
free day
support
per
for
week.
Ukraine, but it's actually a common talking point in the Kremlin.
I'm getting no free
And
days
Putin
until next
himself has
Tuesday,
claimed
so
multiple times that Poland
I'm
is
just
trying
enjoying
to
this.
annex parts of Western Ukraine that Poland ceded to the Soviet
Make
Union
me.
during and after World War II. Now, 2 days later, in a slightly extraordinary meeting with Putin on July 23rd, Lukashenko joked that some Wagner fighters apparently wanted to invade Poland.
Oh, shit, yeah. Look at these two idiots. Guys, do you remember how many of you have are listening to Ukrainian? Is it a pop song? I guess. Spibrativ has a song. Which one is it? Preventative Attack, I think it's called, in which the entirety of the song and the music video is like, oh, there's these two dudes, so Putin and Lukashenko, and they started this invasion. They started this by claiming they had to do it. They started this by, making up bullshit about like how Ukraine was going to invade. So because Ukraine was going to invade, now they need to defend themselves. That they need to stage a preventative attack. And how just fucking heartless the thing is, because they are so casually sitting there, these two old fuckers, and they're starting a goddamn invasion, and they're just doing it. They just gotta manage to do it, and they don't care about the consequences this is having. They're just chilling, these two morons, and they're just talking about these things as if it's the completely most normal thing in the world. It's so weird to see, like even this with Lukashenko being like, oh yeah, Wagnerites want to go to Poland. How can you say that as if it's a funny little thing? And how can Putin be like, yeah, they want to do a little invasion? Are you not aware what you're doing? Just, I don't know. I actually don't know. This is my first time watching the video. So I saved a bunch of links on Belarus, because I basically saved the news on Belarus being in a situation worse than ever. And this was one of the Belarus videos that I've saved. I actually do wonder too, personally, because when they go, could Wagner occupy the Suwalki Gap? For me, the answer is no. The answer is no, and I think it's 100% no. I don't think anyone in Poland nor anyone in Lithuania actually fears the possibility of Wagner invading. So I'm kind of interested in the conclusion that he is going to rage, because my conclusion is no. I feel like you could just make a 5-second video where you just go, and that's it.
To show that Poland had deployed armoured vehicles to the Belarusian border in response. And a few days later,
Poland would
Poland's
fuck them
Prime
in the
Minister
ass.
said that he had received intelligence that
Yeah, have you seen the explosion?
advancing towards the Suwalki Gap. For context, the Suwalki Gap is a
Oh,
104-kilometer
it's like
strip
Christmas.
of land that connects Russia's
Just better.
Kaliningrad Oblast with Belarus, and runs along the Lithuania-Poland
Oh shit, yeah, I was
border.
in NATO battle
It's
groups,
named
yeah.
after the Polish town
No
of
chance
Suwalki, which
of
sits
them,
just south of the
of
border.
Wagner doing anything.
And as all land connections between Russia and Kaliningrad run through it, Russian citizens have a visa waiver agreement for passing through the area. As
Why?
such, this is considered to be one of the most geopolitically volatile places on the planet. Because if NATO were to occupy it, it would basically mean cutting off Kaliningrad. But if Russia were to occupy it, they'd essentially be cutting off the Balkans from the rest of NATO. But Polish officials have claimed that Wagner are planning some sort of hybrid warfare around. But it, they'd essentially be cutting off the Balkans from the rest of NATO. But
He wrote
Polish
Baltics
officials have
and he said
claimed that
Balkans.
Wagner are planning some sort of hybrid warfare around the gap, coordinated with Russia's secret services. And as if tensions weren't already running high enough,
That's how you
3
operate
days
if
ago,
you're
on
an
Tuesday
English
1st,
speaker.
Poland rushed yet more troops to its eastern border after accusing Belarus, Russia's closest ally, of violating its airspace with military helicopters around the border village of Białowieża. Now, for their part, the Belarusian military have denied any such violation, but locals reported hearing helicopters flying low overhead. And earlier the same day, Lukashenko claimed that Poland should, quote, say thank you to Belarus for housing and feeding Wagner, because otherwise they would have seeped through and smashed up Rzeszów and Warsaw. So, with all this happening, what is really going on? And is there actually a risk of
No.
Wagner attacking NATO or occupying the Suwalki Gap?
No.
Well, it would certainly be a terrible idea to do either, not least because they'd stand no chance against NATO troops in the region. As we
True.
said, Wagner gave up most of their heavy weaponry after the attempted coup.
Even if it
And
didn't,
there are only a few thousand Wagner
you'll get
troops in
fucked by
Belarus
NATO.
anyway. In this light, it seems more likely that Wagner are just there to cause some kind of mischief, probably by helping migrants across the border, or possibly trying to enter NATO territory as spies. Nonetheless, if June's attempted coup proves anything, it's that nothing can be ruled out when it comes to Prigozhin. If he had the cojones to stage a mutiny against the Kremlin, he might be crazy enough to have a go at the Suwałki Gap. And perversely, the mutiny might actually help in this context by creating genuine doubt amongst NATO about whether or not Wagner should be considered an extension of the Russian military.
It should.
And this would make it harder for NATO to know how to respond.
No, it wouldn't.
Do they just attack Wagner?
Yes.
Or do they treat any incursion into the Suwałki Gap as an act of aggression by Russia
Which it
and
is.
dive straight into World War III?
Oh, no.
Ultimately, we don't know how NATO will respond or how Prigozhin would act. And a lot of the information coming out of Wagner is increasingly difficult to pass, especially when we live in a world with AI and machine learning, pushing us into new realms of deception. And
This
it's
is a
also
deep fake.
increasingly easy to
Now
manipulate.
he's gonna do an advertisement now. Ish. Ish. But yeah, I'm not seeing any sort of possibility of this at all. So good video. I like how he points out that there is no chance for Wagner to succeed. By the way, guys, here's the cloud. So here's what we're gonna be keeping on screen. I like how he points out that there's no chance for Wagner to succeed. I like how he points out that there's no actual real danger from this. So that's based. Incoming martial law in Russia. I haven't heard about it. We might Google it. I haven't heard about it personally. No Kaliningrad, but written on Königsberg. Based. Look at the terrain map of Suwałki. Yeah, it's just the whole thing with them occupying Suwałki Gap. I feel it's one of those. You know how when Wagner first went into Belarus, people were like, "Ooh, Wagner staged the whole coup, so they would have an excuse to go to Belarus, so then they could invade Kyiv from Belarus," and how that was a stupid idea from the start. But like people genuinely fell for it. The idea of Wagner occupying Suwałki Gap feels to me in the very much same way. It's like, it's as if people with zero ability to seriously analyze anything, they just make the most dramatic predictions, and then they just like pace them around, and people get shit scared of it for whichever reason. But like it's not going to happen. Migrants that are transported by military of hostile country are not shot or sent back under fire because they're still refugees. You can't really, they're not armed. So you can't treat them as active fighters if they're not active fighters. Yeah. Wagner occupying Suwałki Gap would have been the same way to invade Lithuania, with intentions of installing a pro-Russian puppet government, since it was formerly part of USSR. But like they would have no chance to do it, right? It's different if it was dangers of Wagner getting into Moldova. But like in Baltics, NATO's gonna fuck them in the ass. Poland, NATO's gonna fuck them in the ass. Belarus may be like one of the worst places to actually be at, if you're wanting to go and attack a neighboring country to exert your influence. Who the fuck are you gonna go invade? Like there's no point. There's no chance for this to happen. You dare to shoot at Russians, World War III? Oh yeah, also I wanted to comment on that. I don't like his little thing. Wait, let me play it again so you can be amazed. I don't like his little thing of, is NATO going to give more weapons directly entering World War III. World War III started. I don't think it's realistic to do the whole thing with like, oh, are we gonna enter World War III? This is it. This is that. It's just, I think we're kind of waiting for more countries to be like actively involved with warfare. But even then, I'm not really sure how people are imagining World War III to be happening, to be honest. But like what you have right now is Ukraine fighting against Russia, attempting to fight against the West itself. If it's not stopped in Ukraine, it will go further. They themselves have threatened to go further. They acknowledge they will go further. They acknowledge this is, for them, a fight against the West itself, right? you already are a part of this global fight, whether you like it or not. You are a part of it. By helping Ukraine, we already are a part of this. We're just a pussy part of this because we're pretending that we're not. But we already are a part of a global war. I think we're just liking to lie to ourselves, and also I think we like the drama that fear-mongering about. No, I wouldn't say fear-mongering, just like the drama of the title World War III being plastered all over it, you know? I think that's what people kind of like in this situation. It's like, oh yeah, there's a war happening and the war threatens global stability. And currently, you know, most of our countries are engaged in this war on one side or, you know, the other, depending where you are. But it's not a world war. It's not a world war. It's not officially a world war, so we don't have to treat it as seriously. You know, we still try to pretend that it's just a tiny little conflict in just one part of the world, rather than having global consequences. It's as if you saw Nazis invading Poland and you went, oh yeah, it's just a war there. It doesn't really affect the rest of the world, it's just a war there. Good thing, you know, we're not entering into another world war with this. Good thing this is not a part of another world war. And then you read history books years later and it's like, when did World War II start? Surprisingly, it didn't start in this some sort of a magical moment when all of the countries suddenly, physically had war on their ground. It started way earlier. We were just fucking stupid. Hey, yeah, TLDR news video. Yeah, there is one. I haven't seen it either. I wanted to save it, but I haven't seen it. We can go through that one. Wait. Was it TLDR? Was it TLDR? Who was it? Was it EU Made Simple? No. It was one of these. Which one was it? How do I take it out? No. It wasn't Fault Line, I think, right? Hey, by the way, I have to run. Nah, TLDR, no, this was in Spain. Good times, bad times? Who was it? No, I can't remember who it was. I saw the thumbnail and I was like, wait, if I find some relevant news, we're gonna watch it. And then I just kinda didn't go back. Ooh, DV maybe? Bro, I always open a bunch of these to check the thumbnails and to check what's going on. Can I just type in Iran, Iraq? Oh, United States of Europe? Holy shit, what? Hey, TLDR News Global, yeah. Well, that makes sense. That makes fucking sense. Enough badniks in Baltics to muddy the waters. Not war, but some kind of border issue. Hey, by the way, I need to run for a second. So I'm gonna play your video, not this one, because this one is actually good. I guess. Haven't seen it, but I guess. But I'm gonna play you a video and then I'm gonna run really quickly. So be right back, and then I gotta get my beer open, and then we gotta go through the rest of my news because I said a bunch of news. Oh, here it is. You can watch news on Belarus because we talked about Belarus.
Because the country has been
in
the headlines recently over the last 2 days, yesterday and today, because of course of the anniversary of the Russian aggression on Georgia in 2008.
Arguably one that started it all in Europe when it comes to instability, right?
Well, one could say so, but and it also is a sort of another case showing sort of the nature of the Russian regime, right, and sort of Russia's imperialistic ambitions, as we know, both Georgia and Russia, so to speak, were a part of the Soviet Union before, right? And
no, of course, naturally.
Then sort of Russia trying to reclaim some of the territories that used to, that it used to sort of own as a Soviet state,
and illegally holding on to them.
Right. All right. So, but the article actually is talking about Russian immigrants in Georgia. So, the country is in a sort of a very sort of specific position, right? Because on one hand, you had this Russian aggression in 2008. Still, as many politicians point out, 20% of Georgian territory is under Russian occupation. Of course, they're referring to South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And at the same time, they're getting more and more immigrants from Russia following what has been happening in Ukraine, and for instance things such as the draft law, right, in Russia and so on. So the article in The Guardian talks about these various sentiments and sort of the consequence of what has happened for the general public, and also the reactions, right, from the Georgian society.
Many ordinary Georgians just don't really like the idea of having more and more Russians essentially coming into their country. Of course, they say, well, we're just establishing businesses, we're trying to make a living here, but there is always the fear that they might be about to stay for longer, perhaps destabilize the internal situation there.
Right. So the article sort of outlines all of these. It shows different ways of the different ways that Georgian society is opposing the influx of Russian immigrants. It also tries to explain the historical causes, right, and of it, and possible consequences. So quite an interesting piece for those who sort of want to take a closer look at the sort of Russian-Georgian relations and sort of and the consequences of these geopolitical processes, right?
Exactly. So given the impact of the war and the later changes, I mean, right now there is this sort of disconnect between a large part of the general public who are pro-Ukrainian and oppose Vladimir Putin, and the government, which it says that it is still, vowing to maintain a pro-European course, but on the other hand, the Georgian Dream Party has been taking many steps which seem to contradict that. And we should not forget that the founder of the party, the former leader, Bidzina Ivanishvili, I mean, he is often described as a Russian oligarch, a man who was doing business in Russia, he earned his wealth there. So, people say that his allegiances might actually be lying beyond Georgia itself, right?
Absolutely. So as you rightly pointed out, Georgia is in a peculiar position, and if someone is interested in this topic, definitely worth a read, this piece from The Guardian.
Well, most certainly. There are also many... Before we move on, because we actually received patches from the Georgian Legion as TVP World. The Georgian Legion, for those who might not be aware of, it's one of the biggest foreign legions fighting against Russians in Ukraine. So it is a sign of appreciation, naturally, and we certainly do appreciate that as well. It is something really that, people might not be aware of initially, but if you go to any online communities, people who actually engage in fundraising, Georgian Legion feeding the wolves, as I say, in reference to the wolf symbol, this is something that you're bound to come across, and it's one of the ways in which you can actually, support the war effort. There are many Ukrainian fundraisers as well, raising money for equipment, for humanitarian purposes. So that's one thing that we really need to mention at this point.
Absolutely, and we continue on the topic of Georgia, but this time from the French perspective. So Georgia Today features this article. The website features this article about the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and its support for Georgia, right? It's because the French MFA issued a statement marking the 50th anniversary of the 2008 war, and France reaffirmed its commitment to Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And it is not only France, but also a number of leaders yesterday, stepped up and published on their social media or through various outlets their statements of support for Georgia. And again, it's it can be seen as these statements in support of Georgia are, of course, against what Russia has been doing since 2008.
Yes,
so
these statements are there in 2023. If only this reaction was so robust back in 2008. Many countries of Central and Eastern Europe have actually backed Georgia back then. You remember surely the visit by Central European leaders, including President, late Professor Lech Kaczyński, and they actually made a stand in Tbilisi against the Russian forces.
I have a video of this.
A powerful gesture, which involved the presence of those very leaders on the ground.
He's not gonna show it. I saw a video of this. Did I save it? Did I save it? Did I save it? I wanted to save it. No. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Look at this.
Polski, Ukrainy, Estonii, Łotwy, Litwy. I my też świetnie wiemy, że dziś Gruzja, jutro Ukraina, pojutrze państwa bałtyckie, a później może i czas na mój kraj, na Polskę. Byliśmy głęboko przekonani, że przynależność do NATO i Unii zakończy okres rosyjskich apetytów. Okazuje się, że nie, że to błąd.
That. Like true. Fucking true. Fucking true. Also, a man, am I wrong? I think it's... He died later while on a visit to Russia. Yeah. His death in 2010. Have you read about this? I haven't read about it too much. I keep on wanting to, and I still haven't. He died in the crash of a Polish Air Force jet that occurred in a landing attempt at Smolensk North Airport in Russia. Man. Man. I don't know. Yeah, I have never looked into it too much, to be honest. It was something that, you know, you just kind of know happened, but you never look into it too deeply. But right now, who is this?
Кадры кошмарные. Единственное, что хочется сказать,
Oh, yeah.
зачем туда русские люди прете, везете свои деньги на стороне российских туристов, конечно, выступил местный мэр, но на него, если честно, плевать. Столько оскорблений, столько грязи, ушат помоев выливают всякий раз на русских туристов, а они зачем-то продолжают спонсировать.
Best Eurovision entry ever.
Кадры кошмарные. Единственное, что хочется сказать.
Already saw her. Already saw her. Ish woman. Ish, 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 ish. Did I open the TLDR? TLDR. This one. This one. This one.
To you by Brilliant. In the last few years, Iran's powerful status on the world stage has become clear.
Hey, Yoruki.
Their attempts to get closer to acquiring a nuclear weapon heightened tensions with the US, and Iranian proxies continue to cause trouble in Yemen, Bahrain, and Syria. However, one often overlooked element of Iran's foreign policy is its influence in Iraq. Despite the fact that the two countries fought a bloody and brutal war at the end of the 20th century, Iran has filled the void left by the US after the Iraq War, and has, in some ways, essentially taken over Iraq. So in this video, we're going to take a look at how this happened, why Iran wants to control Iraq, and what might happen going forward. So, to understand quite how remarkable Iran's influence in Iraq today is, we need to go back to 1980 and the Iran-Iraq War. Back in 1980, territorial tensions between Iraq and Iran had been tense since the creation of Iraq as a nation in 1921. One of the largest sources of enduring tension was the Shat al-Arab, a waterway on the southern end of the border between Iraq and Iran. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution took place, which replaced Western-backed leaders with Ayatollah Khomeini, a Shiite Muslim cleric. Saddam Hussein, the Sunni Muslim leader of Iraq, who also came to power in 1979, was worried that the new Iranian regime might try and expand into Iraq and reassert control over the Shat al-Arab. So Saddam took the opportunity while Iran was weak after their revolution and launched airstrikes on Iranian bases in 1980. By November, Iraq had taken significant territorial gains, and it was looking like the campaign had been a success. For the Iranian leadership, an existential battle was now staring them in the face. Over the next few years, however, Iran took back territory, and each country ended up basically back where they started.
Okay.
Iran then took the opportunity to push ahead and unsuccessfully attempted to topple the Iraqi government.
Bro, you have no
the front lines had stabilized, and both sides agreed
place
to a UN-brokered ceasefire.
to be dragging that arrogance
In
from.
1990, both countries had restored diplomatic relations, and things remained relatively
Mamin
stable
speaks as
until
if he
the
knows
early
the reality.
2000s. Now, it should go without saying what happened next. The US and its allies invaded Iraq in 2003 as part of its global war on terror.
You know what you remind me of?
Saddam Hussein had access
Was it you? We had a chatter here one time. I don't know who it was. Oh, it wasn't you. This is your first time chat. Okay. We had a chatter here one time, and I remember how they came in with a very similar opening message, like, oh, you're just not acknowledging the reality, as if they know reality better than everyone else. And I remember very clearly that their next message was, do you want to ask me what are my predictions for the Russo-Ukrainian war? And I was like, I want to ask you, who the fuck cares about your predictions? And they sent me a very long, angry message after that, because they got timed out soon. But I don't know, the arrogance that you even needed to have in this situation to approach the conversation as if you have more info than anyone else. It's silly. Yeah, who asked? Bro. Bro, come on. Do you want to hear my predictions? Why the fuck would I? And it's a very, very similar type of arrogance to this, isn't it? Oh, reality will crush hard. How the fuck do you know? How the fuck? What in the world gives you the ability to be making these predictions? Yeah, very, very USA indeed.
Weapons of mass destruction in the country. The government collapsed by the end of the year.
Western,
Saddam
absolutely.
was captured in 2004, then executed 3 years later.
I feel you wouldn't even see Russians say stuff like that. They're just Westerners.
Turn Iraq into a flourishing democracy, and hopefully the Iraqis would then elect a pro-American government in Baghdad. Unfortunately for Washington, that's not how things turned out. Iraq collapsed into sectarian infighting between Shia and Sunni Muslims. Its politics entered a state of permanent dysfunction, and the US withdrew from Iraq less than a decade later. This created a sort of power vacuum in the country, which was promptly filled by, yep, you guessed it, Iran. As we see it, there are basically 4 reasons Iran wanted influence in Iraq. First, and most obviously, Iran sees itself as a regional superpower, so it likes having influence with its neighbours. Second, Iran uses its presence in Iraq, and specifically the Iranian-backed militias operating in the country, to harass and attack the 2,500 US troops who are currently in Iraq. This is something you might not be aware of. A small number of US troops returned to Iraq in 2014 at the request of the Iraqi government to help them fight ISIS, and they're still there 10 years later. Iran's supreme leader even told Iraq's president directly back in April that the presence of even one American in Iraq is too much. Third, Iran wanted to make sure that Iraq didn't cut off its water supply. Both countries mainly rely on the Tigris and the Euphrates for their water, which runs south from Turkey through Iraq down to the Persian Gulf, with various tributaries cutting across the Iran-Iraq border. Some 2/3 of Iraq's 10.2 billion cubic meters of water that exists in the country actually flows across its border into Iraq, which means that, if Iraq wanted to, it could limit Iran's water supplies. This freaks the Ayatollahs out, because water, and the lack of it, have become a political flashpoint in Iran. There were massive water-related protests in 2021, and just a few days ago, Tehran had to suddenly announce a public holiday because it was running out of water and needed its citizens to use less. But the fourth, and perhaps the main reason Iran wants influence in Iraq, is to prevent a repeat of what happened in the 80s. Iran wants to make sure that future Iraqi governments will be friendly to Tehran so they don't end up invading like Saddam did. So, you get the idea. Iran wanted influence in Iraq for a variety of reasons, but mostly to avoid a repeat of the Iran-Iraq war. And, well, they've been very successful in this respect. More than a dozen political parties and a number of paramilitary groups in Iraq have ties to Iran, and Iran has infiltrated most of Iraq's political class. Even the US reluctantly recognizes this fact. A report published by the US Army in 2018 admitted that, at the time of the report's completion, an emboldened and expansionist Iran appears to be the only victor of the Iraq war. In the south of Iraq, the border, the most visible element of a country's sovereignty, is effectively non-existent. According to the New York Times, busloads of young militia recruits.
So I guess not really
a document check, with truck drivers pumping Iranian products in the other direction.
Clickbait video.
Become a vital and active market. In a way, Iran's capture of Iraq shouldn't have come as much of a surprise. It's obviously easy to say in retrospect, but the idea that the US was going to be able to turn Iraq into a Western-facing democracy looks somewhat naive, and Iran was always going to be the one to fill the void, for a variety of reasons. Iran and Iraq share deep cultural and historic ties. They're both dominated by Shiite Muslims. They've both got mutual interest in stopping ISIS. They share an anti-American antipathy. Iraq relies on Iran for energy supplies. Now, it's worth saying that while Iran might be firmly embedded against Iraq's political class, they're less popular with the Iraqi public. There have been semi-regular protests against Iran's influence in the country, but until Iraq has a homegrown political alternative, Iran will probably continue to be the dominant political force in the country. It's increasingly difficult
in the country.
With AI and
that was but yeah, I guess it's not a clickbait video then. I think he explained it rather well. Maybe the way it was worded in the title made it seem more dramatic than when you actually hear the explanation of it, but I think overall an okay video. Overall a good video. Hey! Oh shit, I need to show you this. Yeah. Hey, I saved a what's the word? Fact check on this. I need to show it to you, okay? I saved a fact check on this. You're actually going to see it talked about on Twitter quite a lot, so I need to make sure that you know to expect it. It's like with the Georgian war report by European Union, in which people are claiming that the report says that Georgia is to be blamed for the war, and it doesn't. In the very much same way, people are claiming that President Nixon has predicted an American war in Ukraine, and he hasn't. He really hasn't. There's a letter which has been declassified, and the pro-Kremlin media is using it these last few days to claim that Nixon predicted an American revolution of dignity in Ukraine. And it's like, it's not true at all in any way. But yeah, they're claiming, because he basically wrote that the situation in Ukraine is explosive. It was in 1994. He claimed that the situation in Ukraine right now is explosive, and USA needs to increase its diplomatic ties to Ukraine. Here's the entire letter, by the way. I can give you the entire letter if you want to read it. And I think it would be good for you to maybe have it if you go into Twitter Spaces to write this information, okay? Maybe know what's in the letter. It doesn't say that USA needs to stage a revolution in Ukraine. That is not true. It does say that USA should build stronger diplomatic ties with Ukraine, absolutely, but like, not that it needs to be staging revolutions there, of course fucking not. But I think it's interesting still that they are attempting to use it in this way. It's very similar to that Victoria Nuland phone call, in which they're claiming that Victoria has been picking out the next leader of Ukraine, and when you actually listen to the phone call, it's just her being like, oh yeah, this dude's kind of cool, he's on the side of USA. And he had previous political presence in Ukraine, so him getting the power wasn't like in any sort of a way a weird thing. It's not like he was picked. It's not like, you know, there's a reason to introduce this story about USA picking him. Dude had a political presence previously. Of course he was picked to the position, plus he didn't last a term. He was kicked out before he completed the fucking term. Overall, just it makes no sense to push the theory of USA somehow taking over leadership of Ukraine and then placing pro-USA people in the position by themselves. But still, the theory exists because, I don't know, conspiracy theories need a supervillain, and right now their supervillain is Victoria Nuland. But yeah. They're claiming there were several attempts to arrange an explosion, and in 2014 they succeeded. Not true. They're claiming that Richard Nixon talked about American war in Ukraine. Also not true. He did predict a shift from Russia's democratic course to authoritarianism, and then he predicted it's going to invade Ukraine. That is true. Nixon wrote a letter on March 21st, 1994, after he returned from a 2-week trip to Ukraine and Russia. He outlined his views on the future political development in both countries. He wrote that the preservation of political and economic freedom in Russia would become the most important foreign policy problem the country will face before the end of this century. He stressed that Russia's democracy, which came to be after the collapse of the Soviet Union, was in danger. He predicted that relations between Ukraine and Russia would worsen, as power in Kremlin would most likely pass into the hands of an authoritarian ruler. He stressed that because of this, situation in Kyiv is highly explosive, and United States needs to increase its diplomatic presence in Ukraine to help the country survive. Like, that was the whole thing. What do you mean authoritarianism is fake? That is absolutely not true. When you look at Putin's, for example, leadership, how would you not claim he's authoritarian? How would you define authoritarianism? What would your definition of authoritarianism be? Because I don't know how you could write that sort of a message unironically. It just makes no sense. How would you define it? Joe Biden is authoritarian. Yeah, Joe Biden, how dare you take all the power in USA in your hands? Putin came to power through elections. Have you seen Peskov saying that Putin is gonna win next elections and that Russia isn't a democracy? Oh shit, I clicked on Fox News. Russian elections are costly bureaucracy that doesn't have to be held, Peskov says. They say Putin's spokesman. It's Peskov. He openly said it. Kremlin says Russia, when they say Kremlin, they mean Peskov, says Russia theoretically doesn't even need to hold elections next year because it's obvious Putin will win. Peskov specifically said Putin is going to win with 90% of votes or more. Like, are you aware of that? Do you think elections in Russia are free and fair? And even then, how do you define authoritarianism? Same thing Trump says in the United States. So United States is an authoritarian country? No, you don't listen to Trump. You don't listen to just one person from the system. You look at how the system operates. You look at what sort of power the leadership has, what sort of power the president has. Not what I asked. How would you define authoritarianism? How would you describe authoritarianism? Do you know what authoritarianism means? I need your definition of it. The last martyr of democracy. Oh yeah, true. Absolutely. Wasn't he bitching about the judges on his court recently? I don't follow too much USA situation, but I think he like posted about them or something. He was complaining about who's gonna be his judge on the trial. I'm actually wondering about that thing, but I'm way too lazy to be following USA politics. Okay, Tao, what we're going to do now is you're going to get a timeout for 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, you have time to go and Google what authoritarianism means. Because the term does have a definition. The term does have a definition. For you to claim that the term is just an insult to all those who disagree with the United States, you would first need to know what the term means, and then you would need to be able to prove how it is incorrect to apply the term to, for example, Putin or Lukashenko. You would need to figure out a way how the term is falsely used specifically for governments which disagree with the United States. In order to do this, you need to know what the term is, which is why I asked you for your definition of the term, which you are refusing to give me. When it's a eugenics and to create perfect creature is a mix of Putin and Trump. Shit. I mean, I feel like Putin himself kind of is a combo of both. He has a lot of Trump in him. He has a lot of that stupidity in him, a lot of that populist dumbassery, doesn't he? he feels like I don't know how much more Trump he needs in him. He has a lot of it. If by Trump you would take what you usually see Trump as being, which is very populist, very how do I say it, naturally knowing how to appeal to a large group of voters. It seems like he would be the perfect combo already. That's him. Like he does those. Have you seen those videos of him doing like video chats with people in Russia? Have you seen that one video chat in which he speaks to a dude who's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people from our area who have been killed in this war. They've been on the front line and they've been they've been fighting for us and they are real heroes. And Putin goes, say them hi. Say them hello. Like he had that whole video in which he talked to a family. I still remember the scene. It's like a family and they're talking about how they're having a hard time with the paychecks, and it's just that's the whole thing. He's not really offering help to the family of any way. They're just being like, oh yeah, life's kind of hard recently because we're not really getting a good paycheck, but we're good, we're living. And Putin's like, oh yeah, well, I see you have a bunch of kids, so yeah, you're living, like as a family you're doing rather well because you have so many children. And they're like, yeah, the kids are healthy, so it's all going good. He knows how to appeal to a wider audience. That's the type of a thing that I could imagine one of my villagers watching and being like, wow, Putin is not afraid to speak to a common man. Wow. He's good at populism. And Trump, I think Trump's strongest point is also being really good at populism. Strong and handsome as Putin and smart and fit as Trump. I will not say anything about that. Oh yeah, the interview. We watched the interview at the start of the stream. I think we're talking about the same one that she made with that British Independent or something, right? Yeah. But yeah, she and kids are always separated. He talked about his kids a lot at the start of the war. I remember for a while people were commenting on... there were some very bad TikTok jokes about that. I just remember people specifically being like, oh yeah, I wonder which school his kids go to, stuff like that. So that was really, really weird. But overall, yeah, he has been quite open about how hard this has been for the family and how hard this has been, for him and his wife both. Plus also the situation where she didn't really want to be too much of a public figure. And he's a comedian who entered politics. Both of them were... I think if at the start of their political campaign you told them that, hey, in a few years you're gonna be leading a country through a war, I think they would be terrified of the idea. It's a massive amount of responsibility. It's a massive burden to carry. And yet both of them have been doing amazing jobs. Both of them are doing so well on this. So, I'm very, very... I wouldn't say I'm very proud of them in a way. I'm very, in a way, surprised to see Ukraine has as good leaders as they are, truly. Wait, what did I want to show you? Did I go through this one? Did I go through this one? And then I had this saved. What did I have this saved? Oh yeah, this is the Russian news report, which is commenting on Nixon's letter. So the now declassified letter was written in 1994, and they're saying that Nixon spoke of the explosive situation in Ukraine, calling for American diplomats to take control of what's happening. The situation in Ukraine is extremely explosive. If it gets out of control, then the situation in Bosnia will seem just like baby talk, which isn't really. What was meant by an explosive situation is not clear. That is a lie. It is clear. It is very much clear what he wanted to say by it. Come on. But okay. Understanding the historical retrospective, we can assume we are talking about the creation of various groups of influence in Ukraine after the collapse of the Soviet Union. No. At that time, Yeltsin was not interested in maintaining a powerful alliance with our closest neighbors, and the US simply decided to take advantage. I don't know how I see that sentence specifically, but the first one is no. Importance of Ukraine. In the view of extreme importance of Ukraine, I immediately ask you to strengthen our diplomatic presence in Kyiv, which is a completely okay thing to say, to demand. They're creating, again, just like Victoria Nuland situation, they take something that is absolutely a normal thing and they try to spin it into this conspiracy of, USA creating revolutions in Ukraine, even though there is no evidence to claim this. It's a very stupid situation to follow. There were several attempts to arrange. Yeah, also they're using, because he explained the situation is explosive, they're saying that there were several USA attempts to arrange the explosion. And in 2014 it turned out. How do you see him describing situation as explosive and you genuinely pretend you don't know what he meant by that? Because he does say that Kremlin is very likely to be led by an authoritarian leader very soon in the future, and this is going to pose a huge problem for Kyiv, and that because of this, the relationship between two countries is going to be strained. It's very obvious what he meant by explosive situation in Kyiv right now. And then to try to spin it into USA trying to start these explosions and then also succeeding somehow in creating Maidan is just laughable. It is laughable. They're using the dumbest way of creating propaganda. But yeah. No. Commentators on the text have already begun to say that Nixon's words about Ukraine are coming true word for word, because he said that Russia is going to become led by an authoritarian leader. That is what's coming true word for word. That is what they are commenting on. So, yeah, overall, fuck it. It's not so much about foresight, rather we are talking about planning. Fuck them. Fuck them for purposely representing this in a completely wrong way. I fucking despise it. But yeah, again, giving you the link one more time. So in case you're interested in reading the actual letter, I recommend you do. I truly recommend you do, okay? I have been reading the, what's the word? The official report on Russo-Georgian War recently too, and I can tell you that reading these documents without just relying on what was reported about them in the news, just actually go and fucking read them, turns out that you will manage to figure out a lot of ways that the media is genuinely lying to you. For example, when it comes to the way even Western media is reporting on this. Reuters, for example, when they were reporting on European Union's report on the Russo-Georgian War, they claimed that the report says that Georgia is to be blamed for starting of the war. It doesn't. There's a part of the report, I believe it's point 36, which literally opens with you can't assign blame to any side and you can't assign blame to just starting the shooting on 8th of August, because this shooting was previously, what's the word, followed? Nah, before it there were a bunch of provocations happening. Russia was putting its military on the border of Georgia. Russia was putting soldiers in Georgia, training them, which is what the report also confirms. They also confirm Russia has been spreading false stories about genocide of Russian speakers in Georgia, and this is why they needed to enter. They also confirm that Russia, when it entered Georgia, it didn't even only enter the parts that they claimed to be saving, but they went in further into Georgia doing ethnic cleansing. It absolutely does not place the blame on Georgia for starting the war in any sort of a way. It's just that people are taking screenshots of, I think it's Reuters, BBC, and another one. A German one. What is the German one? 3 different news have tried reporting on the investigation by European Union, And all three of them had very clickbait titles. And what you will usually see are people giving you these clickbait titles in screenshots, but they will not give you the actual report in the screenshots. And the reason they're not giving you the actual report is because the report does not in any way blame Georgia for starting the war. And, very similar to this. People are going to be giving you screenshots of this shit, but they will not be giving you the actual letter, because they know that the actual letter does not say that USA needs to start revolutions in Ukraine. It isn't true at all. So that's kind of that. By the way, my beer's kind of less fizzed out than I want it to be fizzed out. I don't know why. Hey, Budanov! Hey, by the way, I need to make a sound for these news to be popping on screen. I need to start a sound for these news to just go. Here's Budanov, look at him looking ridiculous. He always looks very... I wonder about the dude, you know, the Twitter dude who's looking into suits and how people wear suits and how their style is. I wonder what he would have to say about Budanov, because he stands very... There's a word for that type of a posture, I don't know what it is, but he does it. But yeah, Budanov went to Bulgaria, and he said that the relationship between Ukraine and Bulgaria is very, very strong. He had a way to describe it. What was it? He rated their partnership very highly. They also talked about Mirotvorets, by the way. They talked about Mirotvorets on the website, which that was weird to me. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it to be an actual real point of a conversation, mostly because the website is just irrelevant. Do I want to say irrelevant? It didn't really do much. It's just figures in Ukraine. We don't know who owns the website, right? But they're making a compilation of all the anti-Ukrainian people posting online, basically. Okay, so like you can find a bunch of Facebook accounts there who are posting against Ukraine. You can find a bunch of fighters in paramilitaries of Russia who have been posting negatively about Ukraine, and they all usually do it from their personal Facebook profiles. They use it from personal Twitter profiles, Instagram, whatever the fuck. So the website just kind of compiles everything that they have posted. Nothing of this is secret information. Don't know if you ever went to it. I went to check it out a few times. I kind of hoped I could be getting information from it, but it's really, really weird to use the site. But it genuinely doesn't like offer you any sort of like, I don't know, state secrets or whatever. Like I've heard people claim that the website gives you information on these people that only the secret services would know, which isn't true. They like link to their actual public Facebook posts. They link to their actual interviews that they've made. It is not true that any of this information is kept hidden. At least when it comes to profiles I've checked out, and I usually like click on a bunch just to kind of see what sort of info they have, because I'm interested in what links I'm going to see there. It's never information which is in any way concealed by these people. So, you know, I see why Bulgaria would be interested in talking about why are their citizens on the website itself, but I don't really see why the website would be so important that they would be talking about this on the state visit. But yeah, they talked about productivity of negotiations and expressing satisfaction with the level of cooperation. And also I have saved the news on this, not this, but this, which is that Bulgaria's government has approved a draft agreement on giving old armored vehicles to Ukraine. They just said they don't need them anymore. So about 100 armored vehicles acquired for the police during Bulgaria's communist era. The move was proposed in July, approved on July 21st, and then the provision of the vehicles was agreed on during Zelensky's visit to Sofia. So Ukraine is just gonna get about 100 armored vehicles from Bulgaria that Bulgaria doesn't need anymore. Bulgarian government said that the armored personnel carriers are no longer needed, and yeah, the maintenance and storage of this equipment has required significant financial cost to the state. Basically, old shit way too expensive to upkeep, so we're gonna give it to Ukraine. BTR 60s, I don't know which those are. I wasn't able to find. I didn't even look for the name of the vehicle, to be honest, but I wasn't able to like see the image or whatever around to figure out which ones they are. These? Oh, but that's good though, isn't it? I mean, good. Okay, right? I feel they're okay. They're doing something. Look at him. He's okay. 60s. I learned about that in tanks. Like if there's a number, that's likely the year. it likely denotes the year it's from. But come on, he's on late 1950s. He's trying. Oh, he's trying. Flaming garbage if it's hit by anything. Well, it won't get hit, okay? Low combat values of BTR 152 and BTR 40 were exposed when the Egyptian army used them during the Suez Crisis. And then they developed a new one, so it's better than this one, which entered service in 1950, and it's also better than this one. So, you're welcome. You're welcome. I still think 100 of them is like about 100. I think that's good. I think that's good. Come on, let's get it. It's a lot of them. Like even if you want to use them basically as a car. I remember watching recently a video on how many cars are donated to Ukraine. Because there's this one like there's a way basically to donate your car to Ukraine. So if you have an old car that you don't use anymore or whatever, and it could be used, there's a way to donate it. And they talked about how like in a war zone, cars are just very expendable. You know, they get destroyed easily. You use them for a lot of things, but they get destroyed very, very easily. So it's like there's a constant need for more cars because there's a constant need to be supplying more stuff to the front line and to be driving shit around and to be doing deliveries. You constantly need a car, but they're not really too hardy. So I guess even if you get 100 of these vehicles and you use them basically as you would use like a car, you still have an improvement, right? It's still something. Come on, he's good. He's trying. Territorial guard, police, border guards. Oh yeah, that's two. He's going to be useful. Look at him. I mean, he looks kind of threatening. He looks a bit. If Wagners try to get into the country, you know, it'll be easy to defeat them if you have this on your side. It's probably like very new tech for them. Convertibles, you just take it. No! You get one of those plastic roofs to just put up. This one looks kind of ridiculous. Don't look at him. What do you mean he doesn't have a roof, by the way? Does he not? He's basically a car. Oh. No. Oh, so it's just like that? Oh, you can put this little thing up, but like it's just... Oh, yeah. It's just open. Oh, but see, he can be used for stuff. Because he's open, so you're welcome. Where's Croatia? Me. Oh! No, wait, actually we are red. Why are we red? What does that mean? Current operators. Former operators. Former non-state operators. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, Yugoslavia used to be our operator. Okay, okay. We used to be having 40, see? Like a wheeled coffin. Oh shit, I see it though. Fucking cruel. Finnish armored personnel carrier withstood 3 anti-tank mines. What the fuck? Three of them? How? Nice. Nice. 3. Talking about anti-tank mines. Have you seen that video? This one. Russians disguised a tank mine in a this pedestrian figure.
Вот это Вася Циклоп, убийца танков. Он состоит из оптического датчика цели, сейсмического датчика цели, который под ногу прячется. Так делает сама мина, ЧК. Вот такой вот Вася Циклоп. Вот это Вася Циклоп.
Apparently, by the way, I don't know how true it is, but like this is apparently a war crime. So we will see. We will see if anything gets done about it. But yeah, the figures in uncontrolled crossroads near schools and kindergartens. Shit. So it does count as equipment, right? Shit. I wasn't entirely sure what they're used for, but like if it is, if you could argue it is school equipment, yeah, I'm guessing you could get them on a hug quite strongly for this. And that's assuming that people filming this video are going to live long enough to see Hug, because Russia doesn't really have a good future of caring about the lives of their soldiers, so... So BMP-1 is called Bratskaya Mogila Pechoti? Mass grave of infantry? What? Oh, horrible. Russia itself is one big war crime. Okay, yeah, that too. that too. And by the way, talking about Bulgaria, I wanted to show you another thing. Which is, wait, what did I have here? Ah, this information. No, this is different news on Bulgaria. This one. Bulgarian and Moldovan war veterans have signed partnership agreements. And here's the image of them signing it. And I just thought it was interesting. I was like, huh. What? Huh. Huh. Why? For what reason? But yeah, they have signed the partnership agreements and they're going to be educating their people, military patriotic education. We need to cooperate more closely to help development of civil society in Bulgaria and Moldova. So good cooperation. Also, Romania has recently said that they are cooperating with Moldova too, in order to bring Moldova closer to NATO standards. So I think that's going to be really, really good to follow, and I think it's going to be a really interesting development. I just found the image of this very, very interesting. That was the whole thing. Also, I've saved you a bunch of other videos, so wait. Hey, and also I need to show you European Parliament thing that I was supposed to show you yesterday, and then I didn't. Where's my European Parliament? Did I save it? I did. European Parliament is making little short videos. I'm kind of looking forward to them starting to make videos about the voting, which still isn't going to happen because the voting is in next year. So I'm guessing they're going to be starting to make videos on this when they have 6 months or something until the elections to kind of get the people hyped up. But still, I really, really want to be focused on who is the representation in European Parliament, and I really, really want to go to talk about it. But they're making these like YouTube shorts. And I don't know if you've ever seen them. I just thought they were kind of cute.
Reconciliation and shared interest that have inspired
Hey, yo, Kane, how are you doing?
are today increasingly transforming the economic and political landscape of the island of Ireland.
Just kind of cute. I find it kind of cute. They're also describing, describing what they have voted on. Come on, cute. Which is also why we don't have threads. by Instagram. Oh, nice. How cool is that? Come on. How cool is that? Isn't this one? I think we watched this one.
What is the European Parliament? It's the only EU body directly elected by the people. Every 5 years, voters choose over 700 members, or MEPs, to represent nearly 40
Next voting next year.
million Europeans. MEPs
Be ready.
work on your behalf, debating, shaping and passing laws on issues central to our daily lives. Parliament defends freedom, equality and the rule of law across the EU, and
Unless you have Irish people in it.
rights around the world. It elects the President of the European Commission and makes sure EU institutions are doing their job properly. MEPs decide
I still don't know all the
how
list of candidates in
and
Croatia.
sign off on the EU budget. The European
I'm hoping
Parliament
Borzan's gonna go there.
to the decisions that matter.
But we still haven't had officially the publishment of all of our candidates. So I'm interested in that. I wanna get Borzan in when it comes to Croatia. I don't know who else, to be honest. For now, I'm just really interested in keeping her around for as long as possible. You can look at the list of your candidates, by the way. I don't know if you've seen that. Not candidates, but the current members of European Parliament. Where do I look at the list? Holy shit, wait. No. Easy to read MEPs. I could have just clicked on MEPs. Could have just went there. Full list. There's a way to search by a country. Let me check this out. Advanced search. Okay, yeah, you can search by a country. So you can pick your own country from the list. And then you get the list of all of them. So I can actually show you. Hey. You can find your favorite Hadezem member to vote for, okay? Also, I'm planning to do streams on the political groups within the parliament because there's a lot of them and I feel like no one really knows what they are because I don't really know what they are, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, here are all of ours. This is Sinčić. Sinčić is a piece of shit, for example. This is Borzan. Borzan is the best person in the parliament so far. Most of the other ones... Most of the other ones have been largely useless, I think would be the best way to say it. There's a lot of, even when I say mostly useless, he has been mostly useless. He didn't really do too much. Ivan Vilibor Sinčić is a useless person in Croatian politics, and likewise he's a useless person in the European Parliament. Ključ Hrvatske, the fuck, is that the new name of the party? They changed the name in 2022, I didn't even see that. Yeah, idiots. But yeah, he was a mostly useless person in European Parliament doing absolutely fucking nothing, getting 8,000 euros per month. And then he made one video on how Russia invaded Ukraine because of NATO. And because USA is evil and USA poked the angry Russian bear. So yeah, that's what it was. So you know, vote smart so you don't get people like that. Ireland has 2 of them. I know I always bitch about these people, I just hate them so much. Ireland has 2 of them. Ireland has Claire Daly and Ireland has, where is he? Mick Wallace, both of them being absolute idiots. So make sure when you're voting next time in the European Parliament, you don't you know, go and accidentally vote for people like these. Who's your favorite HSP member, by the way? Can I know? Can I know? Do I want to know? Do I already know who it's gonna be? I'm just asking because why not? Does he have interesting style? Yeah, Mick Wallace. Mick Wallace is a piece of shit. I follow him on Twitter. He's a piece of shit on Twitter. Let me find his account. No. He is getting bullied a lot though. by NATO. So I think that's good. Oh wait, he was talking about Bosnia. Oh, he was talking about Bosnia. My man was talking about Bosnia. Let me see. Let me see. Bosnia and Herzegovina, shut the fuck up, is hampered by deep structural issues, plus NATO, plus Russia issue is divisive. Yet, European Union still calls on political actors to condemn Russia. The harder European Union pushes on this line, the more pronounced the disputes between the ethno-national confederations will become. Does he know who Dodik is? I feel he doesn't know who Dodik is. You're just Barbie cosplay I've ever seen. I don't even know why he wears pink all the time. I guess there's a reason. Maybe he's just like really bad at washing his clothes. Do you think he had a bunch of like white shirts and one red shirt? And he put them all together in the same wash and now they're all like pink and now he's just kind of existing like this because he has no other choice.
Peace agreement, the neo-colonial institution of the High Representative, who can dismiss the complete lack of positive or economic and social development and the dramatically high levels of immigration from both sub-entities. The report has very little in it to address these structural issues. It defends the Dayton Agreement and pours fuel on the already tense situation regarding relations with neighbouring states. We know that the issue of NATO and Russia is extremely divisive, and yet the report calls on political actors to condemn Russia, impose sanctions and advance NATO membership. The harder the EU pushes on the line, the more pronounced the disputes between the ethno-national confederations in Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Wait, what is he talking about?
The dramatically fundamentally hampered by the deep structural issues stemming from the report has very...
Which report is he talking about? Promo video for Iraqi militia group. Which report is he talking about? Because I was very much interested in seeing how European Union report is pushing on Bosnia and Herzegovina to enter NATO. $222? No, it wasn't $222. It had to be recent, right? I would love to see that shit, my dude. Past month? No, it's just 221. I'm just seeing 221. To type in Russia? Maybe. 222. Oh, maybe this. Maybe this, maybe this. Council extends sanctions regime. Oh, maybe that. Adopted a decision extending the framework for restrictive measures in view of the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina. European Union will keep its ability to impose targeted restrictive measures on individuals or entities who undermine the sovereignty, territorial integrity, constitutional order, and international personality of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Restrictive measures can be imposed against those who seriously threaten the security situation or undermine the Dayton-Paris General Framework Agreement for Peace, based. Restrictive measures framework provides a ban on traveling to EU for natural persons and an asset freeze for individuals and entities. EU persons are forbidden from making funds available to those listed, based. Council reiterates its commitment to Bosnia perspective as single, united and sovereign country. Council deeply regrets the prolonged political crisis in the country, urges a full return to the state institutions, and calls on the country's leaders to refocus on the implementation of the reforms necessary to advance on the European Union path. What I'm guessing is he mixed up European Union and NATO, either purposefully or accidentally. But I don't think European Union would be pushing a country to enter NATO. Is this the entirety of the agreement? It is? Yeah, NATO is not mentioned. NATO is not mentioned at all. It is Russia? No, 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 no. Could I look into maybe foreign policy? Okay, foreign affairs, foreign trade. European Union welcomed Bosnia and Herzegovina's significant improvement of its alignment with European Union common foreign and security policy, signaling its commitment to European Union path and stressed that restrictive measures need to be fully implemented. Okay, yeah, so this is it, this is it, this is it. Yeah, that's it. Fucking based too, but it is not true that they are pushing Bosnia into entering NATO. European Union would not have any sort of a authority to do something like this. You can't push your member country to enter another alliance. You can set your demands for the country. If country wants to enter European Union and get European Union funds, you can set your demands for that. But you can't, one of the demands can't be that the country has to join NATO. That's a completely different organization. Do modern dyes color white shirts if not separated? Oh, I don't even know. I did have a situation of like, I colored all of my shirts at one point into like a very light green color because I put them in with some green shirt. They were actually looking rather nice, so I was happy about that. And one time I did color, but it was like when I was a kid. Relatively a kid. I put a bunch of clothes into washing and they all came out pink. They actually remind me of this pink, which is why I'm pretty sure that he did a mistake in washing, because it was almost like the exact weird tuned down shade of pink. But I colored out of my father's what's the word? The shirt you wear under your shirt. Where's my translator? Podkošulja. Undershirt? Yeah, it's called undershirt. Great. I colored all of his undershirts into pink. They did later, like as you wash them a few times later, pink goes out. But for a while they were really, really, really pink. So I think that's what happened to him.
Little in it to address these structural issues.
This is also not true. It is not true that the report has very little in it to address structural issues. That is a lie too.
It defends the Dayton Agreement and pours fuel.
It is true it defends the Dayton Agreement. The reason it defends the Dayton Agreement is that there is no other way to keep Bosnia whole. Dayton Agreement is often commented on as the worst possible outcome of the situation in Bosnia, but also like the only possible outcome of the situation in Bosnia, right? Any other attempt to solve the situation would be ending in a war, because you would need to partition the country, and by partitioning the country you would have the sides arguing over who owns which land, and you would have a fucking war. If you wanna keep Bosnia standing, you gotta respect the Dayton Agreement. The thing right now is that Dodik himself doesn't support the Dayton Agreement. Dodik doesn't give too much of a shit about territorial integrity of Bosnia. Dodik believes that his entity of Bosnia should be allowed to separate from the remainder of Bosnia, and Dodik believes his territory in Bosnia should be allowed to rejoin Serbia. Which obviously isn't really something that many people in the rest of Bosnia like, because they don't want to have a chunk of their country taken away by Serbs. So, yeah, kinda, I don't want to say it's surprising to see Mick Wallace speaking in a way that would ignore Dodik's intentional creating of problems in Bosnia. It's just, you know, sometimes he's very, very cheap on this, and I think sometimes it's almost weird to see the way he does this. It's like no Europeans are gonna be listening to him. You know what I mean? Does it make sense to you? It's like like if you were in a USA parliament and you would say shit like this, and I understand why you would do so, because you would be like, who the fuck is listening to me from Bosnia? No one, right? So I can't say vague stupid shit like this, because who's gonna call me out? These Americans, they don't even know where Bosnia is on the map. No one's gonna call me out. But I say it in European Parliament, and you know Balkan people are gonna be watching, you know Eastern Europeans are gonna be watching, you know there's a lot of people with real experiences and real knowledge of the situation that are gonna be watching you, and you still say stupid shit like this? I don't know, there's some level of like feeling just comfortable with the Kremlin paycheck you're getting that maybe I'm not understanding.
On the already tense situation regarding relations with neighbouring states.
By the way, what does he mean relations with neighboring states is a very interesting question to me, because he likely means Dodik relationship with Vučić creating tension in the rest of Balkans, in which case he may be reminded that Vučić, the reason Vučić is supportive of Dodik as much as he is because Dodik wants to, again, separate his part of Bosnia from the remainder of Bosnia, and he wants it to join Serbia. Of course, Vučić is rather receptive of this idea, but of course, people in Bosnia are really not. So I wonder, like, how are you existing as a person claiming to be, you know, a peacemaker, whatever the fuck, and then you are legit arguing for a war in Bosnia to be allowed to happen, because that's what's going to happen if we keep on dick-sucking Vučić. He is going to start a fucking war in Bosnia. He's going to attempt at the very least. Where do I have him? I want to see. I want to hear to the end.
We know that the issue of NATO and Russia is extremely divisive, and yet the report calls on political actors to condemn Russia,
Also, fucking true and based.
impose sanctions and advance NATO membership.
Lie. It is not. What he is referring to is the part of the report where it says improvement of its alignment with EU common foreign and security policy. This does not mean that it's calling for Bosnia to enter NATO. Hey, Slippers, thank you for gifting us up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thought you are broke. Didn't you say you are broke? Are you okay? Slippers, do you have food to eat? Slippers, do you have water to drink? You are? Slippers, are you okay? I wanted to sub to Dropson recently on Kick, and then I learned that I don't know how to sub. By the way, is anyone having this problem? How many of you people are having this problem? I need to know how to fix it. Do you have those mobile apps for your bank cards? Like a mobile app, and you go to it and you see the state of your bank account? Do you have those? I assume you have those, okay? We're most like younger people, right? Now listen, in those apps, is there a way to do payment through the app? Because in mine it is. So I can go like direct payment, and then I should be able to pay into someone else's account directly. Now here's a problem. Not like genuinely banking apps are not really popular in Croatia. Most people don't have them. It's mostly like older people who don't have them, but like there's a very interesting discrepancy, because like younger people, they will have not just the app, but they also have the app that like allows you to pay with your phone. You're using the phone as the credit card. And then the older people, they still use the ATMs to see how much money they have on the bank account, because they don't have the app, because they don't have mobile phones more often. So I don't know how much it's prevalent in other countries, dude. It's just, it's a new situation for me, okay? But like here's the problem, okay? My banking app, there's a way to do a direct deposit on another account, but it doesn't allow me to do it, because I copied the numbers and the numbers are longer than the amount of numbers the banking app is allowing me to input. So like I do copy, and when I paste, it pastes only like the first part, and it doesn't paste the ending part. And because it doesn't paste the ending part, because there's no place for it in the app, it doesn't allow me to do like direct IBAN deposits. Why? I have to go another way round if I want to do donations or whatever. It would be really easy if I could just like fucking paste it, but it doesn't allow me to do that. Why doesn't it allow me to do that? Am I what is wrong with it? Is the app fucking broken? It's not even just with like donations and everything. I tried to use it for personal stuff too. And if I write the entire, like also at the ending just doesn't go into the app. Am I doing something wrong? Am I fucking doing something wrong? Croatia to Croatia transactions? Would we have, I assumed everyone has the same number of, same amount of numbers in their, same amount of digits. So I assumed it's like internationally equal. Is it? Maybe it's not. Maybe that's actually the problem. Maybe it's not. I've never checked. Because I tried to do, yeah. It's not. I assume the number is equal. Maybe it is then meant just for like Croatia. And then you have to go another way around if you want to do international. That could be the thing. That could be the thing. I have to check the amount of numbers next time. Photo scan option in the app. Use the photo scan option. Wait, how would you... Do I have the photo scan option? Look, I've never used the banking app, okay? I had it previously in my old bank, but it wasn't working. It was at the time when banking apps were really, really fresh in Croatia, and it didn't work. So then I had it for like years, and it just never was doing anything. And now this is my first time having one that actually works. Oh yeah, I do have a way to scan. I'm actually gonna try to... when they do... I need to actually check it. I need to find one of those donation websites where I could be doing... where they actually give you like the QR code to scan or something. That could be useful. If there's a way to do that, I would love to do that. It can scan the recipient info and it fills shit for you. Hey, I need to try that. 86-year-old grandma used banking apps on her iPhone. She has an iPhone? Holy shit. My grandma has she has that pensioner phone. You guys know what a pensioner phone is? It's one of those, the numbers are huge. Fuck, wait, let me try to. The numbers are huge and it's really loud. Yeah, well, it's not exactly like this. It looks better, okay? It's not exactly that. But I wanted to upgrade her to one of these pensioner phones, which are touch phones, and she doesn't want it. But it's like it has the SOS in the back. I'm trying to figure out if there's gonna be one exactly like that. It has the SOS in the back. So if she feels sick ever, she can just press the SOS button, and then it immediately calls emergency numbers stored in your phone. So you know, if you're having some sort of health issue, just quickly call them, and you don't have to like actually type out the number, which seems like a useful thing, okay, but she sits on her phone constantly. I get butt dials from her all the time. It's like emergency butt dial, and then I answer quickly and I'm like, hey, are you okay? And I just hear her like talk in the background because she didn't even figure out she's calling someone. Call the family and call the morgue. Holy shit. Oh no. iPhone, iPad and PC though? Whoa, that's impressive. That's genuinely impressive. Abundance of good IT workers shows itself. Definitely. Oh, definitely. IT in Croatia wasn't even properly developed until very, very recently. So definitely. If you look at our apps right now, they're like... like my mother, for example, in her store, she has the most shit-ass app existing in the world. The program itself that she has on the PC used in the store is shit. It's just... we are very, very badly developed when it comes to stuff like that. I do hope that we are going to get better on it, though. I recently got electricity. I mean, almost. Phones with SOS for entire country and press it simultaneously, so world will see and help. I feel like the world would just kind of like silence. I feel like they would silence the calls. That's what UN people should be having, though. Unironically, everyone should have the option on their phone to do an emergency call to the UN. It should be like, you know, those, you know how phone operators work? So there's like let's say there's 20 people employed working to, I don't know, they're like phone support for some company. When you call, it automatically connects you to whoever is not on the call yet. I feel like UN should work in the same way, in that all of their mobile numbers, personal ones, they should be connected. And then we should all have a way to like emergency call them, and you just connect to the first one who is not on call right now. Show disturbance if forced, and we'll cut to count Russian money. That's true. I just feel like it would be interesting to bring some pain to their lives because they're so useless. Maybe it would push them to actually do something, you know? You just bully them into being useful. You don't allow them to sleep. Like that dude playing the sound of bombing in front of the Russian embassy at 6 in the morning. That's what we should be doing. Let's leave us. Hey, by the way, I need to leave. It's 1:11. I need to leave. I need to go cook. When was the last time I ended the stream? Because I have to go to cook. My dude. I was nostalgic for morning streams. I was really, really nostalgic for morning streams. Allows to do this stuff called shake to pay. You shake two phones nearby and they pop up an agreement to make money transfer. Oh, nice. I don't have anything like that. I wish I have that. I have nothing like that. What are we doing? I wouldn't be giving money to anyone. I just wish I could do that. Just rocket into UN meeting. For legal reasons, Twitch, that is a joke. We are not calling for rockets to be fired into the UN. Please don't stop send me. But yeah. I have to go cook. Listen, tomorrow's afternoon stream, I'll have to see if it happens, okay? Because I am having my free day. I'm kind of just planning to sleep. But also, I'm kind of happy about adding the news thing to the stream. So I wanna talk about news. So we'll see how that goes. I've slept a nice amount this morning, so that was kind of cool. I'm happy about that too. So yeah, overall, life is good, my dudes. Life is good right now. I hope you are having a free day too. I hope you're able to sleep. I hope you're able to rest. And no, I hope whatever's happening is good overall. Do we have someone streaming in politics, by the way? Is there someone streaming in politics, or do we just go to sleep? Or cook? Gonna be making... Hey, Real Red Home may be streaming. He may be streaming. Lonerbox video on Hassan. Oh, Lonerbox made a new video on Hassan. He already has a video on Hassan. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? He already has a video on Hassan, and it's quite cool. He looks into Hassan misusing... Okay. He looks into Hassan misusing Crimea opinion polls and stuff to claim that Russian invasion on Ukraine was justified. I don't know if you've seen. Oh wait, let me do the raid first. And then I'll give you the link to the video so you can watch it in your free time if you want to, but the video is very good. Your friend Dylan? Okay, I used the raid. And now let me give you a link to Hassan's video. Oh, not Hassan's, Lonerbox's video. Lonerbox Hassan. Oh, this is the new one. I haven't watched this one. We may watch it on stream if we do afternoon stream. Oh, my definition is not working. Haha, why not? Is my outro strong? Why is my outro song detecting communism? I am personally offended by it. I am personally offended by that idea. But yeah, I have to be leaving. I have to be running away. So, hey, you're subbed to Arisa. Fucking based. fucking based. I love you. Thank you for supporting Croatian streamers. But yeah, leaving to go to cook. So stay strong, enjoy your day, and I'll be seeing you in the afternoon if I do stream in afternoon. Raid in 5 seconds. stay strong. And yeah, drink water.